is Savardis. He's on the move, and they're going to look for Savardis in the corner. Touchdown!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead, and the props will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
Andrews will be in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He'll throw it down the left sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. He's got the touchdown.
Okay, moving in. Set on goal, he scores! And it is a power play goal!
Back to pass, middle of the field. The catch is made by Britt. She's off to the races at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Britt is in for the score.
Back on in, here's Yoxin. Yoxin with the backhand, trying to go to the front, makes the move and shot, and he scores!
Smith delivers. That's hit back toward the mound. Weiss has it in short. He steps on second, and the ball game is over. Massapequa Coast has won the 2023 New York State Little League Baseball Championship. Live from Joseph F. Facina Field in New Rochelle, New York, the PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of the Elite Football Alliance. In the first game of our Week 1 doubleheader, the New York Dolphins take on the New York Legion. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman, joined by my broadcast partner, Nicholas Bavona. And Nick, the PDF Sports Network launched right here at Facina Field in the summer of 2022 with coverage of the EFA. Today, we kick off our third season of EFA coverage, and there have been plenty of memorable moments on the field along the way.
Yeah, we're going to get into some memorable moments later on here in the broadcast, but Joe, a pleasure to be back here for the third season of the EFA here on the PDF Sports Network, and a lot of intrigue going into the season for this one. 3 new teams, 3 returning teams for this conference, and with the defending champion now no longer in this league, we're guaranteed to have a new champion here in 2024 for the EFA, so it should be a fun time.
Certainly plenty of intrigue surrounding the EFA this year, and we can't wait to bring you coverage all season long here on PDF. But while the excitement of EFA football here on PDF has been a constant during the past 2 seasons, the league does look quite a bit different, as you mentioned, than it has in each of the last 2 years. The league introduces 3 new teams this year and returns 3 more teams that have become very familiar to us during the past 2 seasons. First, both the New York Bandits and Empire State Demon Knights return for the 2024 season. The Demon Knights pushed the New York Bears to the limit in last year's championship game before ultimately falling just short. However, the New York Bandits are a team that many believe are well positioned to bounce back from a pair of tough seasons and make a run for a championship this year. Next, we have a pair of new teams in the Hudson Valley Mountaineers and New Jersey Gravediggers. We'll get our first look at them in Game 2 later today. But finally, in our season opener, we get a look at a longtime staple of the EFA in the New York Legion, taking on another new addition to the league in the New York Dolphins.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You have a longtime staple in the Legion in this scheme. We saw how they fared last season in 2023. And then you have this newcomer in the New York Dolphins. So not only to us, we'll be finding out how this New York Dolphins team plays out, not only in this game, but for the rest of this 2024 season. But the Legion, obviously, today will figure out how the Dolphins play this year, as well as the rest of their competition for this year. So, like we mentioned, there's a lot of intrigue and excitement to seeing how these new teams and how they will fare in this upcoming season. But for the 3 remaining teams, especially, you have the Bandits and the Demon Knights, they're off this week, so they get to look at some of these games to figure out how these new teams will fare for the upcoming season. So should be a good start to our contest for this 2024 season.
No question about it, Nick. And the New York Dolphins are a second-year organization. We'll get a chance to talk a bit more about that later in our pregame coverage. But as I mentioned earlier, it was the Empire State Demon Knights that ultimately lost in the EFA championship last year. However, their road to earning a spot in that championship game ran through the New York Legion. When New York and Empire State met in the playoffs, the Legion pushed the Demon Knights to the limit, nearly erasing a 14-point second-half deficit before losing 20-14 in that game. During each of the past 2 seasons, we've seen the Legion hamstrung by injuries, which have led to some prolonged struggles for them. But at times, they've played some really good football as well. Nick, you got your first look at this Legion team late last season in a thriller against the New York Bandits. What did you like from the Legion in that game, and what needs to be improved upon in 2024?
Well, I think for the Legion, and you'll see in just a moment their schedule from last season. 5-3 mark. We saw in that last game they needed to win that last game against the Bandits to ensure themselves a spot in the playoffs in terms of seeding wise. And in that game that we saw against the Bandits, they did a lot of good things offensively and defensively for the most part. Offensively, some great touchdown passes from Andrews to Nathaniel. We'll see that in just a little bit. But the thing that I think they need to improve on for this season was penalty yards. A lot throughout that game against the Bandits. They had some free plays given up that led the Bandits to getting some of those touchdowns they got in the game. And penalty yardage really hurt them in that one. It almost cost them the game ultimately against the Bandits. So for the Legion, I think it's more about discipline, making sure you don't get those costly penalties, making sure that you don't give your team extra yardage at the end of the day, and obviously going out there and make sure that your plays work overall throughout the entire game and not give your opponent a chance to win at the end of the day.
And Nick, something that really stood out to me in that game between the Legion and the Bandits last season, there were a lot of pre-snap penalties. That's something you touched on and something that both teams certainly would love to clean up heading into the 2024 season. But Nick, before we shift our attention over to the New York Dolphins, let's take a look back at last year's meeting between the Legion and Bandits. You and I were on the call for that game, Nick, and it was definitely a Game of the Year candidate in the EFA.
Yeah, pretty much all back and forth for that game. You'll see right here, Sadiq Nathaniel, one-on-one coverage on the left sideline, makes a nice touchdown to get the scoring going for the Legion.
That was the first of 4 for Sadiq Nathaniel in that game, but the Bandits did come up with a response on special teams. You cannot sleep on special teams plays, or this will happen. Certainly don't leave the booth during kick returns, Nick, as you had to attend to some business outside of the press box.
Yeah.
You missed that kick return. I was looking for you in the game footage, but the Bandits get on the board for the first time as they even up the score at 6.
But after that touchdown, the Legion will respond. A quarterback change leads to another touchdown for, as you mentioned, Sadiq Nathaniel, the second of 4 that we'd have in this game. Good move inside on the curl fly to get the touchdown, make it 12-6.
I mentioned the pre-snap penalties in this game, Nick. We had one right here. That one against the Legion, a free play. We have 3 such plays in this highlight package. Free plays for the offense. Quarterback of the Bandits, Jason Tyler, took full advantage.
And Jason Tyler, remember, had to sub into the game in the second half for the Bandits. And you see right here, another free play, gets a scramble, avoids the tackle, gets the touchdown. They get a 2-point conversion, lead 14-12.
Touchdown number 3 right here for Sadiq Nathaniel. That's a good ball in between the zone coverage from Chris Andrews. The lefty quarterback connects with his receiver. And once again, the Legion go in front.
Well, speaking of good balls, Joe, how about this next one from Jason Tyler? We'll see in just a moment. A big touchdown pass on another free play, encroachment on the defense, over 2 defenders, perfectly thrown for the touchdown. And then we thought at that point the Bandits had gotten the lead and potentially have won the game.
We thought that they were going to pick up a win on their home turf to wrap up the season, but it was not to be, as Sadiq Nathaniel scores for the 4th time in the game. That left, I believe, about 30 to 50 seconds on the clock. We didn't have an official clock, but the game would end here with this defensive play.
And there was 1 second to go on the clock on this final play. Jason Tyler having to scramble to his left, try to throw a prayer. Ball does get tipped at the line, but just a little bit too short of the end zone. Interception for the Legion. They hang on for a 26-22 win to finish the regular season 5-3 before going into the postseason.
And Nick, with a set of highlights like that, we're certainly hoping for more of the same from our games here today. But when we come back, we take a look at the 2023 EFA standings and discuss where the Dolphins may factor in this season. Our pregame coverage continues after this short break.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com. Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we're back here on the PDF Sports Network ahead of this Week 1 Elite Football Alliance matchup between the New York Legion and the New York Dolphins. Once again, my name is Joe Foreman alongside Nick Bavona. And Nick, as we promised ahead of our break, here's a look at the 2023 EFA standings. And Nick, obviously, last year's champion departing the league leaves the EFA wide open this year. We touched on the 2023 runner-up Demon Knights, the positive outlook for the Bandits, and what we're looking for from the Legion. But where do the Dolphins factor into all of this, and what do you think they need to do to make a run for a championship in their first year in the league?
Well, I think it really comes down to what every new coming team, when they join a new league, or even, let's say, in a college football aspect, they join a new conference. You want to set the tone in your first game of the season and make an impact overall and try to make sure that you set your tone for how your season's going to outlook for the rest of the year. So for the Dolphins in this scheme, obviously taking on a staple of the EFA in the Legion, if they can come out on top today with the victory, that's really setting, a message not only to the other two newcomers that we'll see in game number 2, but will also send a message to the other returning teams in the Demon Knights and the Bandits. So for this Dolphins team, if they could get out of the gate early on in this one and maybe get some early touchdowns and get a nice sizable lead over the Legion, they could really make their mark for how their season goes.
As I mentioned before, Nick, the Dolphins are a second-year organization, and they played in the TFL last season as well as adding in a few games this spring as an independent team. The Dolphins did go 1-7 in the TFL last year, but they were an organization that really had everything together in their first season. When we can see it on their sideline, we love the uniforms.
Yeah.
They come with massive numbers. They did not forfeit any games last year and are a team that was definitely appreciated by the other teams in the TFL and around the region. Here on PDF, we now have 2 years' worth of game film on their opponent today, the Legion, and 2 of the teams in the league have played the Legion many times before. Today, we get our first look at this Dolphins team here on PDF, and they are also an opponent that the league is going to be much less familiar with. Does that give them any sort of advantage coming into this matchup with the Legion today?
I would say it probably does, because they're pretty much the unknown for this league. Obviously, they had some, games last season in a different league. They're coming into a new aspect here today. But I think that's the beauty of, finding out the unknown team. You'll have to see, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins maybe try to run some trick plays in this game today to try to throw the Legion off guard. But they definitely have an advantage knowing that they've seen what the Legion have done the past couple seasons. They obviously know that the Legion might not know what they have to offer in this game. So the Dolphins certainly have an advantage, but the Legion will try to make sure that those advantages don't happen in this game, and they can come out on top with a 1-0 start.
Well, Nick, we expected kickoff right around this time, and obviously both of these teams will be looking to get their seasons off to a winning start this afternoon. However, it does appear we are just a few minutes away from kickoff here on the PDF Sports Network. So Nick and I will step aside and take a quick break. When we come back, the New York Legion take on the New York Dolphins as the Elite Football Alliance kicks off the 2024 season.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we're back from Joseph F. Facina Field in New Rochelle, just moments away from kickoff, we hope, between the New York Legion and the New York Dolphins here on the PDF Sports Network. The officials have begun to make their way out onto the field. The teams are in full pads and uniforms on the sideline, so we do expect to get underway shortly as we await the coin toss. However, the Legion and the Dolphins are just 2 of 6 teams that will be playing here on PDF today. It is a football triple header on this Saturday as we have 2 games here at Facina Field, followed by the debut of Jersey Sharks football on PDF tonight at 7 p.m. Stay tuned all day long and don't miss any of the action as we bring you a full day of coverage here on PDF.
And the Jersey Sharks, they'll be facing a familiar opponent that we've seen here on PDF, that being the New York Bears, the newcomer to their league. So a very interesting matchup in the final game of our triple header here today on PDF. But still waiting to see how much longer we have until opening kickoff. We're still waiting also on when the coin toss will happen. So right now there is a conversation at midfield, but there is a lot of excitement, as I mentioned, Joe, with this entire league, with the 3 newcomers, the 3 returning teams, and really trying to figure out who's going to be that team that steps up. We saw what the Bears did last season, pretty much dominant on both sides of the ball, taking advantage. They went 8-0. They went on to win the championship. Now we get to see early on here today who can maybe be that team that takes that first step into getting themselves closer to a playoff spot at the end of the season and maybe ultimately culminating in a championship this year. So curious to see how these 2 teams will fare, as well as the next matchup between the Mountaineers and the Gravediggers.
Well, obviously, neither of the teams that played in last year's EFA Championship will be in action here this weekend, but taking a look back at the EFA Championship last year, that was also a candidate for Game of the Year. Our last 3 games that we covered for the Elite Football Alliance all came down to the wire. We've already mentioned 2 of them. The first was the Bandits taking on the Legion. Then, of course, the Legion visiting the Demon Knights in the first round of the playoffs. But that EFA Championship between the Bears and the Demon Knights saw Empire State come out with the halfback double pass and connect for a big play. So quite the start to that game, but the Bears showing that championship pedigree, just ultimately proving to be too much for Empire State as they were able to get back in front, take the lead, and hold on to it for good. As it looked like they might be waving the coaches over to midfield for the coin toss, though I think they may have just been trying to get the attention of our good friend Sean Spencer, who makes his way out to midfield. Sean, of course, a part of the Demon Knights organization, and with the management team over here at the EFA, one of our points of contact covering games for the Elite Football Alliance. But Nick, obviously, we talked about the Bandits and the Legion playing last year. What other moments stood out to you from our EFA coverage last season?
It's tough. We had a couple games, obviously, calling the Bears, at least from my point of perspective, where we just saw how good the Bears team was all of last year and how they were. We expected them to dominate in that fashion going to the playoffs. And as you mentioned, that thrilling championship game with the Demon Knights and how it went back and forth. And I mentioned for the Dolphins, maybe if they come out in this game and throw some trick plays, it might fool the Legion. We saw that with that game with the Demon Knights. You mentioned that double halfback passing touchdown that gave the Demon Knights an early lead. And obviously using those trick plays can catch your opponent off guard. So anytime I see something like that, especially in a championship game or even just the start of the regular season, that definitely stands out to me at the most. But obviously for me, you mentioned other than the broadcast we had here, it has to be that championship game that we had last season to end it all. A thrilling matchup between the Bears and the Demon Knights, culminating in the Bears finishing their undefeated season with a championship.
Think good words to call a game by are expect the unexpected. And we've said that many times before. Certainly don't sleep on special teams plays. Points can very easily be scored there.
I was sleeping on it here, apparently.
Typically, we don't have many kicks, though we have seen teams at times come with a kicker. A couple of years ago, the Gators played with a kicker. The Bears have played with a kicker. Obviously, those two teams no longer a part of the league. But I don't know what the Dolphins bring to the table in terms of kicking. We do have a roster, and there are positions there, so perhaps we can get some insight turning our attention over to the Dolphins roster. I do not see a kicker listed on their official roster, though many times you have players that also play another position come out and attempt extra points in certain situations. We will see if that is the case here today, but special teams always plays a role, and the battle of field position that can be won in the punting game also very consequential in many of these EFA matchups. So the team that wins those battles on special teams, the battle for field position, could be the team that ultimately takes the win.
Well, remember in that game with the Bandits and the Legion here last year, after the Legion got that touchdown, the last touchdown to give them the lead, they went for an onside kick to try to get the football back and ultimately end the game. The kick didn't obviously go 10 yards, and they recovered it on their plus side of the territory. So that almost ultimately cost them the game. Thankfully, their defense was able to get 2 sacks on first and second down, and they were able to get that interception to end the game. But all about positioning and where you're going to be starting some of the drives. Some of the drives, even for the Legion, started on on the Bandits side of territory, and that got them some of their touchdowns in that game. So for these two teams here today, especially for the rest of the league, obviously you don't want to give your opponent extra yardage and good plus territory field position-wise, but it's going to be interesting to see how these special teams will fare if they have any. We'll have to see how it goes throughout the entire season, but absolutely hit the nail on the head. I mean, you have to be very careful with how you're positioning yourselves because you don't want to have your defense already backed up 30, 20 yards and pretty much in no man's land and trying to avoid giving up a touchdown.
And something that we've seen from the Legion in more than one game of theirs that we've covered, there have been a lot of games where they got off to a solid start and just fizzled out late. We've seen, going back now a couple of years to our first year of EFA coverage, they had a game against the Empire State Demon Knights where they went right down the field. They were able to score on the opening drive, and then from there, the Demon Knights ultimately seized control of that game. That was a win and in game back 2 years ago. And then in the playoff game last year, the script was flipped just a bit as the Demon Knights held a 2-score lead, but the Legion came on very strong late in that game. So that game, as we mentioned before, one of the most entertaining games that we covered here on PDF last year, and that's the last time we saw this Legion team. And something that has plagued the Legion, I mentioned they've been hamstrung by injuries at times. We've seen each of the last 2 seasons their Week 1 quarterback go down with an injury, and obviously that occurred very early last season in the first game that we covered here on PDF, or at least the first Legion game that we covered here on the PDF Sports Network. But the Legion have suffered from a lack of numbers at times, and it looks like going into this game today, they may have between 10 and 15 players on their sideline right now.
Yeah.
So we will see what they're able to do with what appears to be right now far fewer available players than the Dolphins have coming into this Week 1 matchup.
And that could factor in the Dolphins' favor, having that size advantage in terms of roster length. And that's something that the Legion will have to figure out. If this game, obviously, if they can get enough players in time to get this one going, then, and think about it also, the weather is going to play a factor too. It's not badly hot in terms of weather-wise. There is a little bit of a breeze at some points during the day, but that could play a factor if you have only 11 players playing for you, around 10 to 15 guys, because you can't really sub out as much often as you would want to. The Dolphins will definitely have that advantage of being able to do so with the size of their roster. So that could definitely play into a factor in how this game goes along here today. And that could be one of those advantages to the Dolphins and one of their factors for them trying to get the victory here today.
Anything less than 22 players, really tough. It is, especially on a day like this, very taxing to play both sides of the ball. And I can't even speak from experience on that. We just know from watching these games and how things play out. If you have to play both sides of the ball, that is a very long day, especially on a hot summer day like this one. And fortunately for the players out there, specifically on the Legion side with their black uniforms, it isn't too hot today,
right.
So it shouldn't be unbearable out there down on the turf, but you have to remember, playing on the turf, you can add at least 10 degrees to the temperature outside many times, especially with that dark undercoat beneath the synthetic turf. So right now, the Legion have taken the field for the first time pregame and are in the midst of a stretching routine. The Dolphins have been on their sideline now for quite a while. It's been at least, I'd say, 20 minutes since any of the Dolphins were out on the field getting warm. So what we will do is step aside and take another 3-minute break. When we come back, we hope to have kickoff for you in this Week 1 Elite Football Alliance matchup.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com. Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we are back here on the PDF Sports Network. Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside Nicholas Bavona as we are having the officials address the players at midfield right now. And it appears that the coin toss is taking place as we speak. So I think the Dolphins are going to defend the left side of the screen. The Legion will defend the right. The Legion appear to have won the toss and elected to receive. As the officials continue to discuss.
Now they're going to kick.
Now they're kicking. All right, so the official doing a great job making it crystal clear from up here in the booth who will be kicking, who will be receiving, and it will be the Legion kicking off to the Dolphins when we get underway in just a few short minutes.
Well, we mentioned the Dolphins being that newcomer. We'll get to see how their offense looks in their first drive of the season and their first drive here in the EFA. They'll be the ones getting the ball to start off. And we mentioned how special teams play a factor into these games, Joe. We'll see where the Dolphins potentially start this ball, where they start the possession with after the opening kickoff.
Just taking a look down at my rosters, getting those situated as we get set to begin this game. And we've discussed this many times before, Nick. I think I know where you stand. Are you still in the camp where you choose to kick if given the option to open the game?
Yeah, I always like to defer to the second half. I was kind of stunned for a second that the Legion were going to receive the ball, but I think seeing how the first half goes, you would like to have the ball in the second half because if you're winning, then you already have the ball and you have the lead. If you're losing, then one quick touchdown drive to start the second half, and you're right back into the game. So I always like deferring to the second half, seeing how the first half goes for your team, and then evaluating it going into halftime.
Now, does that thinking change at all given the lack of numbers going into this game if you're the Legion?
It's tough to say. I think you would have to say yes, but maybe that's their strategy for most of their games. Maybe the referee just heard something different when they were at the coin toss. But I would say with the numbers that they have for this game, that's probably a strategy they had. Try to at least get them a little bit of a breather before they go onto the field offensively, as they'll see their defense to get an early statement and get maybe a stop to start the game.
And I think if you're the Legion, or perhaps even if you're the Dolphins in this one, and we've seen at times the Legion defensively are able to slow down the running game of the opposition. That's something that we've seen now over the last 3 seasons. Typically, coverage breakdowns in the secondary have been what have led to the biggest plays. But if you're the Legion in this one, you want to shorten this game as much as possible. If you're the Dolphins and you do look to run the ball and are able to do so successfully, that physicality that is imposed upon the defense could wear down on a Legion team that inevitably is going to have players playing both sides of the ball. Now, in the past, obviously, teams have had their success passing against the Legion, but if the Dolphins can really bring the physicality to the Legion in this game, that makes it very tough on a team that isn't going to have a full complement of players.
Yeah, and I think for the Legion, I mentioned how penalty yards were a big issue for them last season, and they certainly can ill afford to have that happen in this game with the amount of players they have. It would be very good if they were able to avoid those penalties and were able to make some plays on the field without having to give up any extra yardage. As I think, Joe, you'll see past the bleachers straight ahead of us, the Dolphins are about to make their entrance onto the field.
So we'll get a look at that. Perhaps we won't. Here come the Dolphins from the far side.
There comes the blue and pink smoke.
And now we're going to get a tighter look at that. Tyler, you can bring down our open graphic as we zoom in on the Dolphins taking the field for the first time as a member of the Elite Football Alliance. Second-year organization, the New York Dolphins playing in their first EFA game here this afternoon. And as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, they are taking on a longtime staple of the Elite Football Alliance in this New York Legion team. All 4 teams did make the playoffs in the EFA last year, but as we mentioned, the Legion had their season end at the hands of the Empire State Demon Knights. They have removed the 2 soccer goals from the end zones, and it looks like in just a few moments we're going to have kickoff. We're going to get an up-close look at this Dolphins huddle at midfield as well. And you have to like the entrance they made, Nick, coming in with the colored smoke dispensers and
hit the flags with their logos on it. Yep.
Now, we come from a place, Working College, where that mascot is also the Dolphins. So I think this is the first time I have called a game elsewhere where the Dolphins have been the team mascot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit unusual for me. I would say if I've broadcasted 500 games in my lifetime of broadcasting, probably 450 or so are at the college level for the College of Staten Island, where the mascot there is the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Dolphins will fare in this one. Obviously, they have the size advantage in terms of roster, but you have to think with, expect the unexpected. You already mentioned it earlier on. The Legion certainly would like to make a big-time statement on the season and get a big win because depending on how this first game goes, that could really, as I mentioned earlier on, that could set the impact of how your season goes along the way down the stretch. So starting 1-0 certainly puts you in a good advantage throughout the rest of the year, obviously compared to an 0-1 record. So both these teams need to get out of this game early, set the tone as I keep mentioning, and make sure that they start off with a nice impact in this game.
We've had quite the lead up to kickoff, Nick. We thought we were close. following the coin toss, and it appears finally that the Dolphins have taken the field and are ready to get underway. So the first test of this game will be for the New York Legion defense as they will send it away. The question is, who's going to kick off? That's always an important question, something we didn't discuss yet. The Legion roster that we have does have some positions on it. I'm not sure that the players reflected on the roster we were given will match the players who are available today for the Legion, but we will go by what we have and do our best with it.
Yeah. Keep in mind, I was going to say there are a couple of numbers that we have on our roster that some of the players are wearing today that aren't listed on the roster. So we will have, unfortunately, a couple of unnamed players that are probably on the roster but with a different number.
There are some familiar faces on this Legion roster. A couple of them are captains. Thomas Roth, he is listed as being on IR, but he is a linebacker, one of the captains on this Legion team. Jason Epps, both an offensive and defensive lineman, another captain on the Legion side. Timothy Mazeros, another linebacker for this Legion team, the third captain on this New York roster. No listed captains on the side of the New York Dolphins. However, they have a very extensive roster, led by their owner and assistant head coach, Brian Ribeiro. Sherrod Hendricks, another co-owner and head coach, as well as the line coach. And Jerry Rivera Jr., an owner on the side of the Dolphins, along with head manager Ashley Rivera. Defensive coordinator is Stephen Morrison. Assistant offensive coordinator, Jerry Bryant. And Matthew Verone is the assistant line coach at the coaching staff for the New York Dolphins. And we're still waiting for the Legion to take the field here, Nick. They do have a player out there, but it appears right now the officials are engaged in a discussion just shy of midfield, so we continue to wait. And admittedly, we've had situations like this before. I can talk, but we've had to talk quite a bit in preparation for this one. We did have one game. This had to be in the first season of our EFA coverage. I was covering a game at Granny Road Park in Medford, and for about 20 minutes, it looked like they were about to start the game. They had both teams lined up, ready to go, and I didn't break because I thought, well, we're about to get started here. I had to talk. It was a solo broadcast as well. I had to talk for quite some time. Solo is tough, but we make the best of any given situation here on PDF. And as I mentioned before, this game is the first of 3 here on the PDF Sports Network today. And admittedly, with each passing minute, it's going to get tougher to catch all 3 games in their entirety. But if you have multiple screens, you can make it happen. First up, obviously, we have the Legion and the Dolphins, followed by the Mountaineers and the Gravediggers. And then finally, our coverage shifts over to Edison, New Jersey, where the Jersey Sharks will take on a team very familiar to our EFA audience in the New York Bears.
I'm going to need a second monitor as well at some point during halftime, Joe. I'm going to have to check on South Shore. We covered them in the Little League baseball tournament. They're in an elimination game today, trying to avoid elimination and stay alive in the Little League World Series.
And, Nick, I thought that it was single elimination.
Double elimination.
Double elimination. Yep. So
they are still
South
alive.
Shore is still alive. I had no idea. I thought they were gone.
Yeah, it's always been a double elimination. It's just a different format they've done this season. Some teams got a bye. They didn't have to play in the first game. And the same thing for the elimination brackets. So South Shore is playing today. I'm not sure what time their game is, but that's something that during halftime I'll have to look at and see what the score of their game is or what time that game will start. It's something I'm looking forward to. We cover them, as we mentioned, in the tournament. A great tournament run for them, and even better regional run for them as they were also on the brink of elimination in that tournament, but were able to come back, win their final 2 games, and move on to the Little League World Series.
We have coverage across all sports here on the PDF Sports Network. Ahead of this game, our most recent broadcast came at the New York State Little League Baseball Championship. That event, of course, was won by South Shore Little League of Staten Island. They advanced into the East Regional bracket, where they defeated Morristown, New Jersey in the championship game after losing to Morristown just a few days earlier. As you mentioned, Nick, they were on the brink of elimination heading into that game, and going into the game before that, it was a win or go home.
They were down 5-3 in the bottom of the 5th inning.
They came from behind to walk off in that game. If I'm not mistaken, they walked it off.
They did, yep.
And then against Morristown, it was a fairly smooth victory against a team that many considered to be the favorite out of that regional bracket. So We had baseball to wrap up our coverage in July. We have the EFA and the LAL both on PDF here today. We have Rockets Hockey Club of the U.S. Premier Hockey League coming to PDF soon. Coverage for the Rockets kicks off next month. And then we have high school football for the first time on PDF, as we will be covering Old Bridge. Their first game will take place against Woodbridge. That will be played on August 29th. So a lot coming up here on the PDF Sports Network. We promised that this game is included in that. But we are still waiting right now. The Dolphins were in position to receive the opening kickoff, and they've dispersed again. So not exactly sure what the reason for that was. Perhaps more Legion players arriving and giving them greater numbers. But they certainly have enough to play, Nick. So I'm not exactly sure what the delay is at this point. So what we'll do is step aside and take another break. Hopefully, on the other side of this break, we will have kickoff between the Legion and the Dolphins.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com. East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
And we're back here on the PDF Sports Network as the head official has blown his whistle, signaling the start of today's Week 1 Elite Football Alliance matchup between the New York Legion and the New York Dolphins. Once again, my name is Joe Foreman alongside my broadcast partner, Nicholas Bavona. And Nick, we've been waiting quite some time for this game to start, both today and over the course of the last several months since last year's EFA championship. The EFA was the first organization to be broadcast here on the PDF Sports Network. And this facility, Joseph F. Facina Field, a special one to us, as officially our network got started right here in the summer of 2022.
Yeah, a lot of memorable moments here at this field, and hopefully we get a couple more here today with these two games that we're going to be calling to start off this 2024 EFA season, and seeing what two teams will start the year off with a 1-0 start.
As we mentioned before, the Legion will be kicking off. Dolphins set to receive the opening kickoff once the official gives the green light. Right now he's standing over the football, trying to get a look at who it will be kicking for the Legion here, but right now they have 2 or 3 players aligned with the football. Once again, we did receive rosters from both teams. Dolphin roster very much deeper in terms of pure numbers than the Legion. The Legion right now, if I'm not mistaken, have 2, maybe 3 players on their sideline in addition to the players out there on the field. official right now moving the football on the tee back to the 30-yard line. And standard kickoff rules continue to apply here in the EFA. Of course, the NFL making changes this year. I was not aware of those changes until they released Madden NFL Football on console.
Not a big fan of it. But
No, not at all. I'm not a fan either. I understand why.
Yeah.
In terms of protecting the players, but in terms of selfishly enjoying the game for pure entertainment value, I think taking away the kick return just really detracts from the game in a big way.
I will say, though, we'll see maybe early on if the Legion try a squib or onside kick to start this game. We're not sure how their special teams are in terms of kick power and kick accuracy. So we'll see what they do on this opening kickoff. We're still waiting to see when that will happen. It looks to be in just short moments.
So in terms of record books in the NFL, just going back to the topic of kickoffs, obviously you can still return kicks just as you did before, but obviously the alignment is completely different.
You have to wait until the receiver catches the ball, and then you can start running towards him to make a tackle.
So in the record books, Devin Hester, all-time kick return leader.
Yeah.
If someone were to break the record under the new rules, does that go down as the same record? It's a completely different dynamic, I would think.
I wouldn't want to put it as the same record. And I think also we're in the day of age in football where if it's, a couple yards back up into the end zone, you more than likely are going to be fair catching it. So I feel like we're also at that stage in football where most returners aren't going to return it if it's about 3, 4, maybe even 5 yards back into the end zone. But it's tough to say because you also have Devin Hester, a new recent Hall of Famer for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, he was just insane, even back to his college days at Miami. There was no one like it when it came to returning kickoffs and punts.
So fun to watch as we have opening kickoff from Joseph F. Facina Field. It is a short kick fielded between the hash marks by the Dolphins. Zachary Plaza picked it up and is immediately thrown down to the turf as the Dolphins will get started right around their own 40-yard line.
I believe that was Perriott Clay, Gene Charles that made the tackle. And I believe he's also the starting quarterback for the Legion here today. So starting quarterback for the opposing team makes the early tackle. We'll see if he stays on the field to play defense. Most likely, if he were to stay on, he'll probably play corner or safety. And doesn't need to be the case. He'll be playing corner to start this possession.
That is a tough ask if he is indeed the starting quarterback to start.
I did see him getting reps on the sideline throwing the football, so I think he is the starting quarterback.
To start at one of the outside corner spots. Dmitry Kovko Jr. will line up in the shotgun. He will get the start at quarterback for the New York Dolphins.
Keep in mind also for this game, the clock is off.
Yes.
The clock is being kept on the field, and there's no scoreboard, so we'll be manually updating it here on our graphic.
First down handoff goes to Kendall Samuel, and he is tackled about a yard or two short of the first down. Make it 2nd and 2.
I started this game for the Dolphins right there, getting about an 8 or 9 yard pickup, make it 2nd and short. We'll see if they go back to the run here to try to get that first down.
And I said it during the pregame, or at least our extended pregame, Nick, but the Legion have had a tough time defending the pass over the course of the last 2 years. That being said, if you can really try and beat them up around the line of scrimmage, handing the football off and forcing those big players up front to work, it really makes it tough on a team with about 10 or 15 players. As the read option is kept by the quarterback, Kovko. He has running room, is out across the 35, and tackled at the Legion 34-yard line.
And a good read right there from Kovko Jr. He saw the lineman towards the left side, kept it to himself, and ran down the right side of the field. Gets a nice pickup, get to the Legion 34-yard line, and a nice start to the rushing attack so far for the Dolphins.
And if you're forced to engage in that battle up front, down after down, it becomes very taxing for your defense over the course of 4 quarters. Once again, the Dolphins in the shotgun, 2 receivers to the left and 2 to the right. Once again, Samuel in the backfield alongside Kovko. It's a play-action pass as the throw goes short to the right side. Missed tackle following the reception by Saleh Akulaki. And Akulaki is tackled. It appears just across the 25-yard line. They'll spot this one right at the 25.
Looks to be maybe just a yard or an inch shy of that first down marker and make it second and short. Sidearm throw right there from Kafko to get it to his receiver. Really pretty much the only way he could get it to his receiver on that play.
Looked like there was a chance to make the tackle there. Kristen Sergerberg, the nearest Legion defender. Second and very short. Trips to the right. Kafko throws left. And that ball is caught along the sideline. Stepping out of bounds at the 2 was Jahari Scott.
And you saw on that play, Joe, Jahari Scott had to rearrange himself towards the sideline on that thrown ball from Kafko. And it fooled the defender, Jeff Thompson, right there, as he also thought maybe it was going to go to the inside, goes to the sideline pass, and kind of maybe unexpected for the Legion. I don't think they were expecting a pass on second and short. And meanwhile, the Dolphins get that pretty much looked like a corner strike. They now make it first and goal around the 2-yard line.
Second and short, by the book, is the perfect time to take that kind of shot, and I completely agree with that decision to try and throw for it, especially with the success you've had on the ground so far. You have to be confident you can convert a third and inches if it comes to that, and that last completion prompts a Legion timeout. So obviously, Nick, the field shrinks quite a bit here. The ball spotted at about the 2-yard line. If you're the Legion, do you sell out on the run on first down and try and force them to pass it in down around the goal line?
I think you need to have someone on this play playing kind of a contained quarterback spy, because you've already seen the Dolphins run a read option in this spot, and even if you keep that spy, you're going to force them to try to throw the football, but at the same time, you're playing that spy, you're going to be able to read what the quarterback's going to be doing, and maybe you could force an errant pass from Kafko right here, but you also have to be wary that he might be trying to run it in here on another read option, or maybe hand it off to his running back to get the first score of the game.
This is a really tough spot for a defense. First down, goal to go from the 2-yard line. Dolphins come out in a pistol set. 2 receivers left, 1 receiver wide to the right. Kafko will hand it off, and immediately in the backfield to make the tackle are the Legion. Unfortunately, we do not have a number 33 on our roster, but what a play it was up front to blow that play up in the backfield.
Lost his helmet in all of it, too, making that tackle as Samuel tried to stiff arm him and make sure he can get to the end zone. And how about that? After first and goal at the 2, it's now second and goal at the 8. Loss of 6 on that play. And a nice, a little bit more breathing room now for the Legion's defense.
And if there's a kicker available to the Dolphins, that obviously comes into play in terms of how many downs you're looking at here to defend on the Legion side. But in most cases, Nick,
4-down territory.
Teams go for it on 4th down. And we've seen nothing yet that would indicate that's going to change as the play action fake sees Kafko roll to his left. He is surrounded by defenders, throws for the end zone, and it is caught off the tip and ruled a touchdown. Second reception of the drive for Jahari Scott, who went up over the defense and tipped it to himself.
Well, look at that play, Joe. You saw number 33. I mentioned earlier in the drive that maybe they had to keep someone in on a contained quarterback spot to make sure that Kafko wouldn't run. It looked like originally Kafko maybe wanted to run to the outside. Then he saw the quarterback contained. He throws it to Scott, and Scott had to make a great play. He goes up with it, tips it to himself, and comes down with it, and ensures himself the catch. 6-0 Dolphins lead.
And the Dolphins will indeed go for 2 here. Spread shotgun set, handoff. And it goes up the middle to Samuel, who takes it straight in for the 2-point conversion. So after a brief setback on first and goal with the big loss on the running play, the Dolphins rebound right back, and on the move to his left, it was an impressive ball from Dimitri Kafko Jr. as he found his man in the end zone for a touchdown. Right now there is a Legion defender on one knee in the end zone. He's back to his feet, making his way to the sideline. But now, Nick, pressure firmly upon this Legion offense. The Dolphins go straight down the field on their opening drive, put 8 up on the scoreboard, and there were a lot of situations last year where the Legion had to play from behind. And we saw in the final week of the regular season, they were able to do so, came back to win that game, nearly came back against the Demon Knights. They had a chance to tie it late, down by 6. But I think this situation a bit different given the circumstances surrounding this game. And now, playing from behind by 8, we get our first look at the New York offense.
And I think also for the Legion, that's one of the cons you have in, deferring into the second half. You're putting your defense on the field first to start the game, and obviously facing this unknown team that for most of the EFA returners, you're not really knowing what to expect from that Dolphin offense. And you saw it right there. They had a couple good rushing attacks. A read option was used in there, a corner strike that got them to the 2-yard line, and then they also used another read option to get them that 2-point conversion to give them this 8-0 lead. So this is right now early on a very nice, versatile spread offense that the Dolphins have shown in this one. Now let's see what the Legion have to offer on their first offensive drive of the season.
Legion set to receive the kickoff once the official gives the okay. Devon Bryant will kick off for the Dolphins. That's fielded on a fly, bobbled, and scooped up by the Legion. Guzavis Bing looked to accelerate up the field before ultimately being tackled at the 35. And officially, the Legion will take over for their first drive at their own 34.
And obviously already trailing by 8, the Legion will look to respond here and try to get their own touchdown drive to start this game here early on in the first quarter. And we'll see what they have to bring to the table in terms of offense. We'll see maybe if they try to attack with their running game like the Dolphins did to start their drive we just saw a few moments ago.
And Nick, I think you're right. Clay Jean-Charles does appear to be the starting quarterback for the Legion in this game. You said it. He was taking some warm-up tosses during the pregame. Legion continuing to shuffle players from their sideline out onto the field. And looking at what they had defensively on the opening drive, it looked like they had one extra player available for this game. They're still waiting on a couple of players, as it looks like there's a helmet issue for one of the Legion.
Number 33 who made the tackle, and when he got stiff-armed, his helmet flew off. And so maybe a piece of the equipment broke off in that engagement, so he might have to switch helmets.
Looks like he needs a new buckle for that helmet.
Timeout's called on the field now. The Legion, unfortunately, had to take a timeout, Joe, because of that issue. So they've already now used 2 timeouts here early in the first quarter.
Well, obviously, you hate to lose a timeout in a situation like that due almost exclusively to an equipment issue. And we'll see if they can get it solved before they would need to run a play. They do have one additional player on their sideline, but right now, the player wearing jersey number 33, hard at work trying to repair that helmet. You said it right at the time, Nick. The collision followed by the stiff arm on that tackle did a number on the helmet and caused it to fly off the defender's head. So right now he's trying to repair whatever damage was done. The official has blown his whistle, and we await the first Legion offensive snap.
And he's trying to use a completely different helmet as well. They have, so if you see the Legion have gold helmets here today, he'll be wearing a black helmet if they're able to fix it. But right now, it doesn't seem as if they're going to be able to get him on the field, so they might have to run with an extra man down, maybe potentially.
Taking a look, I think right now they have 10 out there.
He's going to be running with 10
They
for
do.
now. They're still attending to that issue on the sideline. So that provides something to start here for this Legion offense.
It's a first down handoff, and immediately that play is stuffed right at the line of scrimmage. That will officially go down as a loss of a yard.
Taekwon Stokes made the tackle on that one. Playing from the linebacker position, maybe a little bit more towards safety on that one. It's going to be about a loss of 1 and make it 2nd and 11.
That was Guzavis Bing on the carry. He also was the kickoff return man. And they are still working on that helmet, Nick. The Legion taking all the time they can. And Charles looking over his shoulder to see if he'd have a full complement of players. Sees that he will not. Unless we miscounted. I believe there are 10 in that huddle, Nick.
I think there were too, yeah. There was the 5 linemen, and then they had 2 receivers to the right, 1 to the left.
Injuries obviously can make things very tough in a situation like this, but an equipment malfunction, probably one of the more unusual ways that you find a player sidelined for multiple snaps. Second down. Charles looked to run, and he is met by 3 Dolphin defenders as he once again maybe lost a yard, perhaps got back to the line of scrimmage.
That one, they were going for a direct quarterback draw on that one. And the low snap didn't really help in that factor, and he lost another yard. So already for the Legion here, it's going to be 3rd and 12. And I'm trying to see if now they have a full 11 on the field coming up on this next play.
Well, they sent one player off and did not. Okay.
They did. They're going to have 11 now.
They did send another on. Okay.
Yeah,
I saw one substitution, 1 for 1.
Elijah Rush was the one that subbed in for Kurzavis Bing.
Got it. All right. So officially we have a 3rd down and 12 coming up. Whether or not a punt is on the table, we don't know this early in the game. But the Legion hoping to keep this drive going, and at the very least give themselves a chance in a manageable 4th down situation. Shotgun set. 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Charles will look to throw, and he throws short. That pass is complete. And the tackle will be made behind the line of scrimmage. It looked like initially that Rush might be able to break away from the first hit. He could not break away from 2 more, and that's going to set up a 4th down and long.
Yeah, you're in that no man's territory right there for Rush, where you're trying to avoid and make a play in the open field, but the Dolphins swarmed him on that one and were able to make the tackle. And that's about another loss of 2 yards, so it's going to be 4th and about 14 coming up. And we'll have to see, Joe, if they have a punting game for this spot. If not, they're going to have to go for it, and if they don't get it, that's going to give the Dolphins great field position.
And, Nick, it looks like they are going to try and punt it, but we will see. Yeah, this does appear to be a punt formation. So
Mazzaros was the one that kicked it off for the Legion to start the game, so it looks like he is going to be the kicker/punter for them here today.
Devon Bryant back deep for the Dolphins in this spot. There is another Dolphin lined up in front of him. High snap pulled in. And not a bad punt. It's off the fingertips of Plaza. Charles giving chase. He's blocked out of the play, and now Bryant has it. Bryant working toward the far sideline, has some blocking. He accelerates across the 40 and is tackled at the Dolphin 42-yard line.
The late flag thrown in, Joe, is now some confrontation towards midfield between the 2 teams. So we'll have to see who they call that flag on.
Well, at the end of the play, a personal foul would back the Dolphins up. It would not award the Legion a 1st down. That's, of course, assuming the penalty was against the Dolphins. We don't know that. But it will be Dolphins football regardless. And now, Nick.
And Joe, I was going to say, you see a limp into the sideline. That's Charles right there. That's the danger of having your quarterback in on not only on defense but on special teams as well. He's holding towards his kneecap right now.
Well, that would be a disaster for the Legion.
He is having trouble right now putting any weight on it. He's trying to walk it off.
He can't come out of the game, Nick. That's the problem.
And the penalty was on the Dolphins, Joe. They're going to get further pushed back. It looks like around the 26, 27-yard line. They're going to start this next possession.
Well, you have to think that somebody on a very crowded Dolphin sideline will have spotted that Charles appears to be walking a bit tenderly on that knee, and I think that's an understatement. He's definitely shaken up, and he's going to be forced to return to an outside cornerback position. And he draws the assignment on Zachary Plaza, who is going to line up out wide to the right. 3 receivers to the left. Once again, Kovko Jr. in the shotgun, flanked by Samuel. And Samuel takes the handoff, accelerates up the far side, and that's going to be good for New York Dolphins' 1st down, just inside of their own 40.
And you see kind of also on that play, Joe, that the Legion are really biting into that read option style offense that the Dolphins have been running so far to start this game. Kafko once again with a very late handoff to Samuel right there. And Samuel took quite a big advantage on that one on the left side. There was barely any Legion defenders on that side of the field. They were able to make the tackle, but still enough for a Dolphin first down.
Just about every play so far has gone just as the Dolphins drew it up, with the exception of that one rush on the goal line. This time, 3 receivers to the right. Kafko will tuck it and run. He has blocking in the form of Samuel, but instead will trot out of bounds just shy of midfield as he stepped out at the 46.
Joe Lowe on that one from the linebacker position was trying to get him on a linebacker blitz, but the blitz was picked up by the offensive line, and Kafko immediately read it and was able to get to the sideline for about, looked to be maybe a 7-8 yard pickup to make it second and short. Maybe a little bit further back. It looks like maybe he got 6 yards, so maybe second and 4.
Once again, 3 receivers lined up on the wide side of the field. And Kafko will look to pass. He's looking left and throwing deep. It is underthrown and caught as the defensive back lost his footing. Jeff Thompson was there, but he tried to square up to the football and got his cleat caught in the turf as he went down. That allowed the pass to be completed, and it's another big play for the Dolphins.
It kind of looked eerie similar to, if you remember, the Jacoby Jones play from the Broncos-Ravens AFC Championship game about a decade ago, it seems like. It seems as if yesterday that happened, but the defender slipped on that play, and it led to Jones getting a touchdown. If not for him falling on that play, you got to believe he's probably going to the end zone. Thompson falling on that one, giving a wide-open reception for another Dolphin first down.
He's frustrated with himself, but he was in position. The ball was underthrown. Not too much wind today, but the wind that is blowing is going against the Dolphins, so that's something to keep in mind. Meanwhile, Jahari Scott adds another catch to his stat line. And once again, the Dolphins back in the shotgun. Kafko looking to throw. Fires up the seam. It's caught and perhaps fumbled. We'll see how they rule it.
Will they rule that an incompletion? They're going to rule it an incompletion.
I think that's the right call. That was a tight window.
That was Aaron Woods trying to make the reception, and they off the hit, which is not able to hold on to the football. Dolphins were trying to play it off as a fumble, and were trying to run it in for the score, but the Legion get the benefit of the doubt right there with that incompletion and force a second down.
Well, that was a good ball by Kafko. I think he really protected his receiver there, as throwing that ball up the seam opens you up to a shot from the safety position. He threw the ball a bit behind him, forcing him to spin away from the potential hit. But eventually he was converged on by a couple of defenders and coughed the football up. Officially, incomplete pass, 2nd and 10. This throw goes short right. It is complete to Plaza. He looks to make a move inside, and ripping at the football was Segerberg, and he could not jar it loose. Plaza limping just a bit. And that's a gain of about a yard officially, as Plaza gave himself up for about a yard or 2, maybe more, as he ran backwards to make his move to the inside.
And he'll have to come off the field, it looks like. He kind of looked like he awkwardly fell on his ankle on that tackle made right there. So 3rd and 9 now for the Dolphins, and got to be 4 down territory. We're on this side of the plus field as well for New York. So let's see what the Dolphins have dialed up here on 3rd and about 9 yards.
A big opportunity here for the Legion to get their defense off the field with a couple more stops on 3rd and 4th down.
Joe, it looks maybe delay a game. There is a flag on the field.
Well, they pointed in the direction of the Dolphins, so that will back them up. And you have to think, Nick, as you said, delay of game was the call. There is some frustration right now from the quarterback position. Kafko Jr. having words with his sideline following that penalty.
Either it was delay a game or maybe a legal formation. I didn't see what happened. And now the Dolphins, they're certainly getting frustrated. They're calling a timeout. I think it was a legal motion, Joe, because you could see towards the sideline. Kafko is in a conversation with his coaches, and it seems as if they're not having they're trying to get the receiver in motion, and they're not getting the right play call right now.
Well, it appears that the Dolphins weren't all on the same page ahead of that snap, regardless of what the call was, and they are forced to take a timeout. Between the two teams already, 3 timeouts have been taken in this opening quarter. And you have to think that we're drawing near to the end of quarter number 1. But no official clock for us up here in the booth, time being kept down on the field. So when the action resumes, it's going to be a 3rd down and 15 yards to go for the Dolphins. And the way this game has started, Nick, it seems like the Legion have to get off the field here defensively one way or another.
I think the Legion need to look out, Joe, for any curl flat or stick route that maybe the Dolphins maybe try to force. Obviously, you have that effect of a running quarterback, so you want to look out for that as well. But the Dolphins could be in a spot where they don't need to get all the 15 yards in this on this play. Maybe try to get a curl flat, get it about 10 or so-ish yards to force 4th and short, and it would make it a more manageable 4th down conversion for them to try to get the first down.
So officially, we have a 3rd and 14. It is a long 14. And the Dolphins will come out in a spread shotgun set. Once again, Samuel flanking Cavco Jr. in the offensive backfield. He will hand off to Samuel, who has a lot of running room. He accelerates upfield, makes one man miss. He's still going. One man to beat now. And he is finally wrestled out of bounds at about the 5-yard line with a flag down.
I think it's going to be holding, and it is. It's going to be either holding or it's going to be blocking the back. I think it's holding, though, on the Dolphins, so that play is going to come back regardless.
And it didn't seem like that hold was necessary. It occurred well beyond the first down. It looks like the officials have marked where that hold took place.
That's around, it looks to be the 13 or 14-yard line. So I would think that they're going to spot the ball from the spot of the penalty. So I would say around the 24-yard line, 25-yard line is where this next play will be. So it should be 3rd and about 5 or 6 yards for the Dolphins coming up. That's going to be the end of the first quarter.
That will bring us to the end of quarter number 1. The two teams will switch sides, and when we come back, the Legion and the Dolphins here on the PDF Sports Network.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we're back here on the PDF Sports Network at the start of the second quarter. The New York Dolphins lead the New York Legion by a score of 8-0. And a big play coming up here for this Legion defense. They got the assistance of a holding call on a play that would have brought the Dolphins down to the 5-yard line. Instead, they will snap it from about,
well, we'll have to see.
It appears the 40, Nick. They've backed them up much further than they were. So I think the football is going to be spotted correctly at about, what was it, the 25?
The hold was around the 14, 15-yard line. So I would think it's going to be from the spot of the foul, 10 yards backed up from there. So I would think it looks to be right now where they have it at, looks to be the 24, 23-yard line.
It looked like...
Or, correction, 28-yard line is where they have it.
It looked like the Dolphins were preparing to snap it from the 40. But the correct spot is right here at about the 28-yard line, as you said. So
So maybe the holding was was on the line. Maybe it wasn't that outside block.
They're still in a better situation than they were ahead of that last snap. It appears to be 3rd down and about 8. Kovco Jr. looking. He steps up in the pocket. A defender had a hand on him. He got away. He works back to the left as he reverses field. And he will throw for the end zone. He has a man open, and he has a touchdown. Flags fly at the line of scrimmage, so hold on 1 minute.
We'll have to see, Joe. There was one flag for the late hit on the quarterback. There was also a flag thrown before that, so I don't know if it's going to be nullified penalties, but we'll have to see what's called on the field. There's definitely a late hit on the quarterback. That's one of the penalties.
Offsetting penalties would still benefit the Legion here. And we will get a second look on replay to see exactly what transpired.
You'll see right here, Kafko moves to his right, trying to find some room, gets some good blocking, then has to redirect himself towards the left, makes the throw. You'll see the late hit there. He took a shot, Joe, too, but great throw to the end zone for the touchdown, and it looks to be the Dolphins are celebrating. So I think both penalties are on the Legion, and they are certainly not happy about that, as that's going to give now the Dolphins a 14-0 lead.
Well, I didn't see the first flag. I did see the second one as I was following the quarterback. How early in the play did that first flag come in, Nick?
I didn't see how early it was, but if I had to guess, it's either it has to be maybe pass interference or defensive holding on the Legion. If it's, I saw it in the secondary, so I would assume that's what the first least penalty was. What we'll do is, once this two-point conversion is over, we'll take a look at the replay and see maybe if we can spot the first flag and where it was thrown. I would have to think it's probably something in the secondary.
The Dolphins will go for 2 once again. 4 receivers wide here out of the pistol. And they will toss it to Samuel, who is immediately wrapped up well behind the line of scrimmage. So the Legion stands strong on the 2-point try, and with that, we'll go back to that touchdown play.
So let's see if we can spot where the first flag was thrown.
Now, Nick, I tried to get a number on the receiver as well. I thought I saw 77, but that would be an offensive lineman. Was it 17?
I think it was 17, yeah. So the flag was thrown towards the middle of the field. There had to have been holding on the Legion for that first flag. And then obviously the second flag was thrown, as we both saw, from the late hit on the quarterback. So the Dolphins caught a big break with that first flag going against the Legion. Otherwise, it would have been nullified and given a retry on 3rd down. But instead now, an early 14-0 lead for New York here in the second quarter, as the Legion now will come back on offense. And one thing to note, Joe, is we'll have to see what the status of Charles is. He is out on kick return, but we'll have to see what they can do offensively to try to get into this game and get back on the scoreboard.
So that touchdown reception will officially go to Salah Al-Kulaki. He's been heavily involved in the passing game for the Dolphins thus far, along with Jahari Scott. And so far, there hasn't been much resistance on the side of the Legion defensively. That being said, Nick, that drive very easily could have came to an end earlier. So if one ball bounces a different way or one cleat avoids a snag in the turf, it could have been a very different end to that drive.
Yeah, and that's how the game of football goes. You know, one play goes a different way, inches, it doesn't really matter. You have to obviously, you're trying to avoid that stuff happening. Unfortunately for the Legion in that spot, they had a chance of interception. They just missed it, and now they have to come back on here. Now, I think what happened, Joe, is so if you see where they're going to line up for the kickoff, that late hit on the quarterback, the yards for that penalty are going to be enforced on the kickoff. And that first penalty, which I believe was defensive holding, was obviously declined by the Dolphins as they got the touchdown anyway.
Makes sense as the Dolphins move up to the midfield stripe to kick off here. And if you're the Legion, you have to do everything you can to avoid getting pinned back against your own end zone. That could be a game ender if you end up going 3 and out or turning the ball over. That kick fielded on a hop, And there is some running room, a chance here for the Legion, and a big tackle to deny them by the Dolphins. I believe that was number 13, Nelson Norville, but very tough to make out the number on that defender from here. It might have been a 31 rather than a 13. Really tough to tell from this far out.
Well, number 33, I do know, lost his helmet once again, and that was a scary hit, Joe, because he kind of got upended on that one, tackled below the waist, and thankfully for him, he's back up on the field. He'll have to obviously hope that his helmet stays on once again. This time, there's no equipment malfunction because it's already cost the Legion a timeout here in the first half. But now they come back onto the field. They're going to start the drive from their own 33-yard line, and they're down 14-0. And this is a spot in the game, Joe, early on. And if their offense isn't able to get anything going on here, they're going to be in trouble early on. They lost 5 yards in their first possession, so they're still looking for their first positive play of the day.
And that's a big return, not to be overlooked in that spot. The Legion could not afford to get pinned against their own goal line. A very realistic possibility with where that kickoff was taken from. They will start just outside of their own 30 as they hand off on first down, and the Dolphins are there. Trying to bounce it outside on that play and being met by 3 defenders was Elijah Rush. And it just seems like, Nick, that the Legion haven't been able to turn any of these carries upfield.
And Tyquan Skos, was the one that made the tackle once again from that linebacker position. Because early on, made some big plays for this Dolphin defense. But absolutely right, Joe. The Dolphin defensive line has gotten so far to that Legion offensive line. And an early loss of about 3 yards to make it second at about 13 coming up.
We've seen more than once where the Legion have been able to get their ball carrier, the blocking, to reach the edge, but from there, there's just been no opportunity to turn it up the field. That will bring up second down and about 13. Charles in the shotgun, fakes the handoff and looks to run with it, and he is stood up. We've seen a very similar sequence of plays each of the first 2 drives, a carry on first down and quarterback keeper on second down. Once again, the Legion now in a 3rd and long situation.
And on 3rd down, they ran a halfback screen. Try to get some yardage. Let's see if they do it again here to try to at least give some breathing room for their special teams if they were to have to punt if they don't convert here on 3rd down.
Well, on that screen that they ran on the opening drive, it looked like the running back got out just ahead of his blockers a bit. I wasn't sure if it was a design screen pass or just a quick throw to the halfback. Either way, there wasn't much to be gained, and Rush was immediately tackled. He will now exchange spots with fellow back Kerzavis Bing. 3rd and long. Charles has some time, throws right, and throws incomplete. Nick, they had some blocking set up there.
Yeah. Just at the last second, it looks like when he threw the ball, it looks like maybe the defensive line for the Dolphins just got almost to him and forced that throw to force it to be incomplete. And already backed up into their territory. It looks like the Legion will have to punt again here on 4th down.
Well, in terms of pass blocking, they gave their quarterback enough time on that particular play, and that's been an issue for the Legion in games past. There just hasn't been enough time to get throws off. That was not an issue on that last play. Charles was able to get the throw off, and now he's going to be the long snapper in this spot as the Legion will send it away.
Remember, he got injured on the last punt return, so try to avoid that here.
That one sent out across midfield and fumbled. It's loose, and the Dolphins have it. That was very fortunate.
Charles almost fell on the ball, but thankfully for the Dolphins' sake, they were able to recover. I think that was Jahari Scott once again, Joe. He made the big play with the touchdown earlier, and now he gets that recovery to avoid the Legion from having the ball in plus side territory.
Well, it looked like Bryant, the return man, had a really good read on that football. It didn't take any awkward motion on its way down, but he just muffed it. And it looked like the Legion had gotten on top of it, Nick, but it appeared that football squeaked out from beneath a pile of 3 players, 2 Legion and 1 Dolphin. And once that football got away, Scott was able to get on top of it. And you get the sense here, Nick, that if the Dolphins score, that may be the score that puts this game away.
Yeah, I think for the Legion, obviously, they had a chance on 3rd down last time out. Obviously, they had gotten some pressure to the quarterback, Kavko, but he was able to evade it and make a play out of something and was able to throw the ball after going originally towards his right, scrambled back to the left, and was able to make that nice throw to the end zone for the touchdown, albeit, though, it did take the late hit, but still was able to make a great throw to put his team up 2 possessions here in the second quarter. And the Legion now have to call their final timeout.
Well, that can happen when you're a bit short-handed and players have to shuffle in and out. But you hate to see that following a punt, where both teams have to get their new personnel out there, and that is the final timeout of this first half for the Legion. Defensively thus far in this game, the Legion have made some good plays around the line of scrimmage, but once the quarterback has been able to break, contain, and get the ball out down the field, that's where things have been problematic. But I think if you're the Legion, you have to try and make sure that you don't allow Kendall Samuel to get the edge on the ground. Force him to run between the tackles. We've seen early in this game a lot of outside zone looks out of the shotgun from the Dolphins. And once Samuel has been in the open field, he's obviously a very tough tackle with good breakaway speed. And in terms of the passing game, you have to do whatever you can to keep the intended target in front of you and hope perhaps that your defense can make a play and perhaps get to the quarterback at the very least, allow the ball to be caught in front of you, make the tackle, and live to play another down.
Now, lots of dangers of facing a mobile quarterback where you're obviously trying to stop the running back on a rushing attempt, but you also have to be wary of what the quarterback is going to do in the open field. And sometimes when you're running a quarterback spy, trying to make sure the quarterback doesn't run, that will lead to a 2-man, 3-man rush from the defensive line and gives the quarterback a little bit more time in the pocket to try to make a play.
First down. This Dolphins offense, their 3rd drive of the game, as Kavko Jr. keeps it on the read option, is met by 2 defenders, and you don't like to see your quarterback taking hits like that one.
Now got tangled up between 2 defenders on that one. Got about 4 yards to make it 2nd and 6.
He went down rather awkwardly there. And I think that's something that the Legion will have to be well aware of throughout the rest of this game. The Dolphins clearly like to employ that read option. 2nd down and about 5, maybe 6. Once again, a spread shotgun set for the Dolphins. Samuel flanking Kavko Jr. in the backfield. And the Dolphins will look to pass. They get the ball out quickly, and that is complete. And look at those moves. A juke and then a pair of spins.
Unfortunately, though, Joe, I think it's going to come back. The multiple flags were thrown on the field.
Salah Al-Kulaki drawing some oohs and ahs from the spectators here at Facina Field, but you said it, Nick. Flags did fly at the end of that play, and this one might be coming back.
It was called on the Dolphins, so they will be coming back regardless.
Discussion ongoing here, and may have been a late hit, Nick.
I think it was.
So that would add 15, though the Dolphins right now appear to be backing up.
Right now the ball is being placed at the 48-yard line of the Dolphins.
So it looked like the word from the engineering desk for us was late hit, and given that the discussion was being had with the Dolphins, I thought perhaps the penalty was against the Legion, but that does not appear to be the case, and the Dolphins will back up quite a bit here. Getting a look now at the replay on my second screen. Whatever happened did not take place where the tackle was made. But the Dolphins will back up to,
just a yard behind the initial line of scrimmage.
they're at their own 49-yard line now. Kavko looking right, throws quickly to his back. Samuel with the reception, and he's immediately met by 2 Legion defenders. And Nick, that's exactly what the Legion need to look to do moving forward in this game.
Yeah, they need to make sure that they don't miss any of those tackles. I mentioned earlier on in our pregame where you obviously don't want to give them extra yardage on penalties, but you also don't want to give them extra yardage on any missed tackles. So you need to make those open tackles in the play of field. Quick throw to the running back there to get them a couple extra yardage, and now it makes it about 3rd and maybe 7 coming up for the Dolphins right here, as they're now back on the Legion side of the 48.
As I said, Nick, on the side of the Legion, you're looking to keep the receivers in front of you. If you have to allow a completion short of the sticks, so be it. Make sure that you finish the tackle. If you're the Dolphins, a score here puts you firmly in the driver's seat moving forward in this game. 3rd and long, handoff, Samuel. They force him to cut it up inside, and Nick, that's what they have to do. Force him to run between the tackles. Don't allow him to gain that edge, and they had some breathing room on that play. That will bring up 4th down and about 3, and Samuel is shaken up. Tough to tell which leg Samuel's favoring. It looked like there was an issue with the lower body, though he's being attended to now by the trainer.
He might have fallen right on the ball, Joe, unless it is a leg injury. I'm not sure.
It looked like he was favoring the lower body after he went down, but
I think you're right, yeah.
We will see what comes of this. Obviously, he's been a big part of what the Dolphins have done offensively thus far in this game.
Yeah, you're right. They are checking on one of his lower legs. Not sure if it's the left side or the right side, but he's definitely in some pain right now.
Well, obviously, you're never rooting for an injury, but if you're the Legion, at the very least, this gives you some time to regroup and regain some energy ahead of this 4th down. You have to remember, these players who are out there for the Legion defensively, almost all of them are also playing offense. So every break they are afforded is consequential, and Samuel is going to be carried off the field in this spot, putting no weight on what appears to be an injured left leg. That's a big loss for the Dolphins now, ahead of a 4th down snap. Obviously, you'd have to think with a roster as deep as theirs, they have another halfback ready to go in this situation, but Samuel had run it really well, and the Legion here could gain themselves some better field position with a stop as well. So their defense will take the field on a 4th down and 3.
It's going to be Aaron Woods replacing him. We saw him earlier try to make a catch down in the middle of the field, but it was dropped. He's now in the backfield here on 4th and about 3.
Once again, a spread shotgun set. And a flag flies for a false start.
That's big for the Legion now there, Joe, because 4th and 3, you maybe consider going for a run. I mean, you still could consider it on 4th and 8. It's going to be tough. We saw a 3rd and 14. They got a 1st down run. But that certainly now forces the Dolphins to more than likely try to throw the football in the spot.
And that extra breathing room that those 5 yards afford the Legion defensively now, huge. It's much easier to keep a receiver in front of you short of the sticks on a 4th and 8 as opposed to a 4th and 3. Perhaps you can afford to give some extra cushion and coverage here as well. That all contingent, of course, on making the tackle.
And they got to make sure they watch Kavko as well in this spot. Could have an opportunity to scramble if the play doesn't work out passing-wise.
And a hard count draws the Legion off.
They get the 5 yards back.
Well, if you're the Legion, you hate to see that.
That's some of the things I highlighted in the pregame where you don't want to give those extra yards in terms of penalty yards. And after getting the false start forced on beforehand, now they give up the 5 yards there on the encroachment. So now it's once again 4th and 3.
And they fake the handoff. Throw deep. And there's another miscommunication on the side of the Dolphins. It looked like Jahari Scott patting his own chest takes accountability for that one. But that is a turnover on downs. And the Legion didn't seem to bite much on the play fake. They had 2 or 3 defenders in the area.
Yeah, I think for that one, Kafka was looking for an out route for Scott on that one, and maybe towards a little bit of a slot post, and that's kind of what Scott ran on that one. He ran towards the inside of the field, but Kafka was looking for him on the outside, and that's where that ball was thrown. And that forces the incompletion, and honestly, Joe, that's big for the Legion getting into this game. They forced the turnover on downs. They're almost near midfield as well, starting this drive from their own 44-yard line. So this could be a good advantage for them trying to get back into this game and try to make it a one-possession game before halftime.
If the Legion can pull to within 1 score, that completely changes this game, as they do receive the second half kickoff. This time they will start from just shy of their own 45-yard line. Once again, Charles looks to run, has a bit more room this time, and he will pick up about 3.
Well, the Legion certainly will be happy with that, Joe. That's their first positive play of the game so far. So they get a route. Looks to be 4 yards on that one, maybe 5.
You have to think we're drawing close to the 2-minute warning in this spot. It appeared as if we had a running clock in the first. Always tough to tell. But it appears sometimes the clock is running, other times perhaps not. This game did start a bit late. I'd say, about 30 or 40 minutes?
30 minutes, yeah.
That would put us 1 hour post-kickoff here at 2:30 p.m. Shotgun set for the Legion once again. Charles can't get a throw off as he is planted back inside of his own 45.
And I think that there was a whistle. I'm not sure if maybe that was the 2-minute warning that was called. If not, let's see.
2-minute warning.
It is 2-minute warning. And I think for Charles on that play, Joe, it's probably best that obviously you don't want to get sacked in that spot. But if you looked at the route that he was looking towards on that slant, if he had thrown that ball, there was a couple of Dolphin defenders right there that could have had an opportunity for an interception and maybe even a pick six. So obviously don't want to take the sack in that spot, but it might have been for the best because it could have been points the other way for the Dolphins.
Certainly not an enviable situation for a quarterback. Your first read that you think is there is not there. You have to tuck it, and then you're immediately swamped by 3 defenders. 3rd down and about 11 for the Legion. And if they pick up anything significant here, you have to think they'll go for it. The blitz coming, and Charles lost the football.
That was one of those tuck rule spots where, and he got drilled also on that spot, Joe.
I think he may still be down. Was that ruled incomplete or a fumble?
I think it was ruled a fumble because they moved the ball back to the 40-yard line, so he lost 4 yards on that play. He did not see the blitzing. I think it was a defensive lineman or a linebacker that made that play.
Well, the Dolphins certainly sent pressure off the edge nearest to us.
It was the defensive lineman.
Shaquem Pegas, the end nearest, or perhaps the linebacker nearest, outside linebacker. He's certainly at one of those outside linebacker spots. In the middle, you mentioned earlier, Taekwon Stokes, and then on the opposite side, Rafael Santiago appears to be the other outside backer, though he is lining up more toward the corner spot now. So tough to tell when the defense lines up for a punt. Bit of a wide snap, brought in, punt nearly blocked, and that will bounce right at the midfield stripe. It takes a Legion roll, and it will be downed just inside the Dolphin 40 at the 39-yard line.
So we do know now under 2 minutes to go in this first half. We'll have to see maybe how much closer to the 1-minute mark we have here in the first half. So the Dolphins will have a chance to make this a 3-possession game before halftime. And I think really it's a more imperative, Joe, than ever for the Legion who'll get the ball to start the second half. If they can keep this a 2-possession game, they can get something going offensively to start the second half, they could make it a one-possession game. So they could really use a stop here before the first half ends.
I think they have to have one, Nick. Can't afford to go down 3 scores. The way this game has started, as we approach halftime, I'm not sure they can afford to allow another score at all. And fortunately, they should have the clock working in their favor here as the Dolphins will be pressed for time inside of 2 minutes to go in the first half.
Well, you have to think also for the Dolphins, depending on how much time was left, that fumble, technically, I don't know if it hurts them, I would say, but obviously if you get an incompletion on that one, it saves you a couple seconds off the clock. But with that being a fumble, it took time off the clock, and they ran it down until they punted the ball away. So I'm curious to see how much time is actually left here in the first half.
I would guess between a minute 20 and a minute 30. Handoff goes to Samuel, who's back in, and he is tackled shy of the 45-yard line. Nick, the Legion have tackled pretty well around the line of scrimmage in this game. The issues have come when receivers have gotten behind them in the secondary, and I mentioned it during the pregame. Blown coverages and plays that extend for a very long time as the quarterback improvises, those have been problematic.
We saw the Dolphins take a timeout there. I think they have now 1 remaining in this first half. Look to be about a 5-yard pickup on the play to make it 2nd and 5.
Dolphins did call timeout there as the tackle was made in bounds. Well, if you're the Dolphins here, just about anything works except a turnover that would lead to Legion points in this spot. Ahead 2 scores, they don't need to try and do too much, but you know that with a chance to go ahead by 3 scores against a team that hasn't yet put up any points, they're looking to deal what could be a death blow to the Legion in this position. They will snap it from their own 44-yard line. 2nd down and about 5 to go. Kavko Jr. will look to throw. He steps up, throws to the right side, and that is off the helmet of one defender, off the arms of another, and incomplete. How did that pass find the turf, Nick?
I'm honestly speechless. I don't know what just happened on that play. It was kind of like whack-a-mole or hot potato on that play.
Incredible.
Some of the comments being towards the Legion sideline. And
we had 2 of the 3 Bleezies shouting us out from the sideline, asking us to make sure we had that for their show coming up. Dave, a frequent viewer, passes me along much of the latest information surrounding the semi-pro football game. Well, Tyler, do we have that on replay? Let's get one more look. I think perhaps you just aired it, but
I think he did, yeah.
We'll get one more look. As it looks like the clock has been stopped now.
Now the question is, why was it stopped? Did the Dolphins call their final timeout?
That's a good question.
I would think so, unless, or maybe are we in halftime?
The sticks read 3rd down and have not yet been moved, so I don't believe we have reached halftime. The Dolphins, if they did call timeout, will have used their last. That would have been the 3rd timeout called by the Dolphins. And the Dolphins now have made their way toward the bleachers. So, Nick, I think you might be right. That may have brought us to halftime. I don't want to step away yet with the sticks still in position, reading 3rd down, but that may be all for the first half. Otherwise, I'm not exactly sure what the delay is.
I would think it is.
There certainly wasn't a signal to tell us that we've reached halftime. So we'll give it another 30 seconds, and if nothing changes, we will head to the halftime break.
I would say if it was a normal timeout call by the Dolphins, usually I would have assumed the Legion would have stayed on the field at least, getting ready for the next defensive snap, but both teams went to their respective sidelines.
And, Nick, that's it.
Yep.
The first half has come to a close. Our score at halftime, the New York Dolphins 14 and the New York Legion nothing. The Legion will receive the second half kickoff when we come back. This is Week 1 coverage of the Elite Football Alliance, the first of 2 games here today on the PDF Sports Network. The second half coming up after our halftime break.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com. Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com. Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
We are back here on the PDF Sports Network for the start of the second half in this Week 1 Elite Football Alliance matchup between the New York Legion and the New York Dolphins. In the first half, the Dolphins really dominated play from start to finish. The Legion, of course, suffering from a lack of numbers in terms of players available for this game. But given the fact that they had many players playing both sides of the ball, you have to respect their effort in that first half. And Nick, as this kickoff rolls toward the end zone, they'll be forced to scoop it up and return it. And the return man's brought down just across the 10. But what I was about to say, Nick, they're very much still in this game.
Yeah.
As Daewon Kind, who I believe arrived late in the first half, was the return man on that last kickoff. So he gets his first touch on what might have been his first play in the game. And now the Legion offense will take over from about their own 11-yard line.
Well, for his sake, hopefully he can stay in the game, Joe, because now it looks like he's having an equipment malfunction at his helmet. That's already cost the Legion a timeout in this game. But this goes back to them deferring at the start of the game. I mean, if they had elected to receive and being down 14 with having to kick it off, that puts them at a disadvantage to potentially be down 3 possessions. But with them still down 2 possessions and they get the ball to start the second half, they very easily could make this a 1-possession game. However, though, they got to start this drive around their own 14, 15-yard line as there's a flag on the field. It's going to be delay a game. I think 35 was trying to sell off an injury so that they could get more time on the field. I appreciate the selling right there, the acting job, but it did not work. They got.
We might have to replay that.
See if we can get a replay of that, Tyler.
I saw it happen. I was asking myself, what just happened?
He was trying to buy. Well, think about it. They didn't want to burn another timeout like they did in the first half, so he was trying to play off an injury, and it just did not work in his favor.
Got to give credit for taking a shot, I guess.
It looks even better on the replay, I can tell you, Joe. I will say this, though. If there was, the penalty definitely was called, but they didn't move the ball back. I think the Dolphins maybe did them a favor and declined it.
Remember, Nick, expect the unexpected.
Good form of sportsmanship right there from the Dolphins, if that was the case. So let's see if that bites them, Joe, if they not getting those extra 5 yards.
Well, if those 5 yards are the difference between a win and a loss, the Dolphins are going to be very upset with themselves. Not for declining the penalty, but for the way the second half went, as they'll have another sack here.
And if you saw Daewon Kind, who you just mentioned, recently came into the game, he was at quarterback for that play, and he got a nice welcome to this game as he lost about, it looks to be 5 yards on that play.
And I think, Nick, when you run as many QB draws as the Legion have, not only in this game, but historically in the games we've covered, it allows the defense to be a bit more aggressive in the pass rush when the quarterback is so often a threat to run the football.
Right.
And when you have 5 or 6 bearing down on the offensive line against a spread shotgun set, it's tough to block that. And the quarterback has to get the ball out quickly in those spots. And more often than not, the Legion quarterbacks just haven't been able to get rid of the football quickly enough to negate that pass rush. Handoff here, goes up the middle, and this might be the biggest play of the game for the Legion, as they had at least
Joe,
3 or 4
unfortunately,
Dolphins.
It's the biggest play of the game, and I think it's going to be getting further back because there are some words being exchanged, and I don't know if I've seen a flag thrown on the field yet, but I'm surprised there hasn't been one thrown.
We don't have.
And they're trying to keep some of the Dolphin players from running onto the field from their sideline. That would definitely result in a penalty and maybe even an ejection from the game.
We don't have the ball carrier on our Legion roster, but I think it goes without saying that ahead of any enforced penalty, that was the biggest play of the game for the Legion.
And it was. And I'm very surprised that a flag wasn't thrown, so they were letting that one play out. But it could have been very, very bad if it didn't get broken up by the referee, so good job by them. It's going to make it about 3rd and maybe it looks like 6 or 5 yards.
3rd and 5 or 6 for sure. As Kind is looking to get his team organized at the line of scrimmage. Two receivers to the right in this shotgun set for Kind and the Legion as the handoff is fumbled. The ball is loose, and the Dolphins are able to scoop it up, it appeared, and they are going to rule the recovering player down at the 1 yard line. It will be Dolphins football as that fumble was recovered just shy of the end zone. And perhaps a miscommunication on a read option or simply a botched handoff as the Legion turn it over for the first time in this game. And this one could prove costly.
And I think, we saw in that play, the Dolphins got a great jump start to trying to get to the quarterback. And that maybe led to that fumble happening. And now we talked about the Legion having a chance to make it a one-possession game to start the second half. But now a fumble right there pretty much negates them deferring it to the second half from the opening kickoff. It gives now the Dolphins first and goal at around, it looks to be the 2 or 3 yard line as they look to go up 3 possessions.
Well, that fumble puts your defense in an almost impossible situation, backed up against their own end zone. I believe the ball was officially spotted at the 2.
Yep.
And the Dolphins will come out here looking to potentially put this game away. Looks like they have a change at quarterback, at least for this given set. They come out in I formation, 2 receivers to the right, 1 receiver left. And I believe the Legion have called timeout. They have. So the Legion will have to talk this one over. Perhaps caught a bit off guard by that formation the Dolphins came out in. You don't see much I formation, or at least traditional I formation without the fullback offset. You see some strong I and some weak I, but very rarely do you see true I formation in the games we've covered for the EFA. Nick, if you're the Legion in this huddle right now defensively, what are you saying to your guys?
Well, they would love to have a play that they had. Remember, at this side of the other field where first and goal at the 2, they had that 6-yard loss to force it second and goal at the 8. But you're saying to your team, listen, we need a stop right here. Obviously, you would love to force a turnover, but you've got to be worried about what the quarterback has done in this game. You know he has the running capability to try to go to the outside on a read option, so you have to look out for that on the spot of the field and try to avoid being down 3 possessions.
Well, I think what they've done well is tackle around the line of scrimmage at the defensive end. And they are backed all the way up here against their own end zone. The wind has picked up a bit. It is at the back of the Dolphins right now. Similar personnel in this spot with 1 less receiver on the field for the Dolphins. I formation on the goal line. The handoff goes to Samuel, and he is stopped short of the end zone.
And if you saw, Joe, Zachary Plaza was the quarterback in on that play, the one giving the handoff. And meanwhile, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Kafko is setting up as a wide receiver to his right.
He's giving a hand signal to his quarterback from that receiver spot. Once again, 2 receivers wide for this play as they'll look to push Plaza in. And he is stood up short, and that will bring up 3rd down.
So far, so good for the Legion defense. As once again, words are being exchanged, Joe, and the Legion cannot afford to have a penalty right here. That would give the Dolphins a first down.
Well, it looked like one of the Dolphins shoved a player. Is now things beginning to escalate here, and a flag is thrown. Who instigated that will go a long way toward determining the complexion of this drive, as it looked like a punch was just thrown.
And we've been seeing this build up, Joe, as the game's going along. There has been a lot of confrontation between these two teams. And you knew at some point that this was going to escalate, and unfortunately it's escalated to this point now. Multiple flags thrown on the field. We'll have to see how this one all unfolds.
Well, Tyler, capture that replay just in case. We're not going to rerun it at the moment, but the league may want to take a look at that one later. However, a punch was definitely thrown by one of the Dolphins. So I think we're going to have at least one ejection. There was another altercation that took place in a bigger crowd. Not sure who instigated there, but there were a couple of players involved from each side that had to be separated. And now the officials will talk it over as the entire Dolphins offense has made their way to the sideline.
So we have
holding on the offense.
On the offense, and there's going to be more flags, obviously. One of the players was ejected from the Dolphins as well, and one of the players from the Legion was ejected as well.
So, Nick, that might have been a personal foul signal that looked like holding.
Yeah.
I thought for sure it was a holding signal.
That's definitely the signal for holding, at least from what I've seen. But at least one player from each side has been ejected from this game.
Well, the Legion don't have players to spare.
I'm not sure which of the players from each side also got ejected. That's another thing. Right now, Charles from the Legion is having a conversation with one of the referees. I'm not sure if he was the one that got ejected.
You'd have to think so, because he is not happy. It's been a very animated discussion with the official. But
then again, Joe, he doesn't seem to be coming off the field. It could have been Deshaun Kai, maybe?
Not sure. It was tough to tell who was involved in the initial altercation.
I'll tell you this. I saw him towards the end where the play was happening. Now, it does seem to be that he's staying on. I think Charles is the one that's coming off the field, so I think he's the one, and it looks to be that he's the one that was ejected. For the Dolphins, though, I'm not sure which player was ejected on their side.
I saw who it was, but it's a bit tough to make out the numbers on the back of their uniform. I think it was one of the offensive linemen. The number was certainly in the 50s, so I think it was one of the offensive linemen, but it was really tough to tell. I think it was 55 or 56, so that could be one of two players. But if you take a look out there right now, I do see 55 in the game. It might have been 56. That would be Arben Balademic.
Meanwhile, lost in all of that, the Legion got a good stop on second and goal on the quarterback sneaks, and now it's third and goal at around the 2-yard line.
This is a really big spot for the Legion. If they're going to have any hope of coming back in this game, they certainly can't afford to allow any points.
Now, the referees are still having a conversation behind the play. I'm not sure what this conversation is currently being about.
The chain gang was out there doing clap push-ups.
Yeah.
That's not the wildest thing we've seen on the chain gang before. As we wait for this game to resume, I think one of the most humorous stories that I have from my time covering semi-pro football, we had two lovebirds on the chain gang once, and they were laying side by side in the grass. The chains were just left wherever it is they were, but they were having a good time in the grass while the game was going on. And the official had to yell over and say, "Hey, lovebirds, let's go. Move the chains." True story. True story.
I was speechless again. No comment.
Expect the unexpected. You never know what you're going to see. I think clap push-ups are one of the more tame things I've seen.
Well, when you have a stoppage of play, I guess you could do clap push-ups. You got time.
We've been to many different facilities, covered many different leagues, and seen many different things that we haven't seen before. The discussion is ongoing, so you have to think that one of the ejections is being protested. You have to think that's what's going on here, because this discussion has been a long one. Now, you know what? Why don't we go back to that replay, Tyler, since the discussion has been so long, and see if we could perhaps spot on replay who the ejected players may have been.
I think we know that the Charles for the Legion is
all right,
one.
well, you can push it to the live stream, Tyler. So go back to the beginning, scrub it back, and we can play it live.
They're still having a conversation, so if there is any change in motion, we will let you know.
All right, so Kind is definitely involved following the tackle.
Right. That I saw. After that, I wasn't able to pick up any numbers.
Now, if you look toward right center on the screen, you might not see it. It was after this initial altercation. But beyond that, we do have it on a second replay. There was a punch thrown by the Dolphins. So let's scrub back there and see who it was that perhaps was ejected on the Dolphins side very quickly, as it looks like we're finally ready to get going. There it is right there. Now, a shove to the face mask goes down as a punch. That's what that was. But I'm not sure you can do much damage or, do anything more than injuring your own hand.
Yeah.
Punching a helmet. It just looked like there was a shove of the face mask. Either way, that's probably where the ejection occurred on the side of the Dolphins. So where we stand now is one player ejected on each side. It looks like it is Charles who was ejected on the side of the Legion. Kine remains in the game. Shotgun set here for the Dolphins. They hand it off. Samuel has the edge, and he has the score. As the Dolphins go up by 20 on a 2-yard touchdown run by Kendall Samuel.
Samuel once again using his speed to go to the outside, Joe. He's done that a lot in this scheme. And that one got some great blocking and was able to find the corner end zone and see all that breathing room, getting that walk-in touchdown to give his team now a 20-0 lead here in the third quarter.
And the Dolphins will go for 2 ahead by 20. They have 2 receivers to the left of Plaza, who is once again lined up in the shotgun. And he will keep it. Rolling to his right, has plenty of room. And he is in for the 2-point conversion.
Maybe he had to put the ball over the pylon to get that one in, but he does get in regardless and gives his team now a 22-0 lead.
So the Dolphins go ahead by 3 scores for the first time today. And that puts the Legion with their backs firmly against the wall. They're in what I think amounts to a must-score situation on this drive. You have to think that the entire field is 4-down territory. And while we await the Dolphins kickoff, we'll step aside for a quick 60-second break. We'll be right back with the Dolphins leading the Legion by a score of 22-0.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
And we're back from Joseph F. Facina Field, where the New York Dolphins lead the New York Legion by a score of 22-0. The Legion will receive the kickoff, as we expect that we're probably just beyond the midway point in the third quarter, maybe a bit deeper, as that's over the head of Kind. It will roll into the end zone for a touchback. So the Legion,
Late flag again, Joe.
pending this flag, will take over at their own 25.
I think it's going to be on the Dolphins.
Once again, this is the first of 2 games from Facina Field here today. Coming up next, the Hudson Valley Mountaineers and the New Jersey Gravediggers, both making their Elite Football Alliance debut.
Penalty was indeed on the Dolphins. I think that was O'Neal Parks that got called for the penalty. So they spot the ball now at the 35-yard line.
The Legion have not had an offensive snap from plus territory yet in this game. Have they completed more than the 1 pass? I don't believe so.
No.
Their biggest play came on their last drive on the ground.
And if you look at each of the possessions they've had in terms of yardage-wise, they have not had a single possession in this game where they've had positive yards. They've had a play that's gone for positive yards, but the drive ended up being a loss of 4 or 5 yards. So they're trying to fix that in this upcoming drive. I believe Kine will be back at quarterback once again for them here in this upcoming drive as they try to cut into this deficit.
And Nick, our good friend Balloon, is in the live chat reminding us that the South Shore game has started.
Okay.
So we'll have to fire up one of the second screens and get South Shore airing here in the booth.
Wonder if he's looking for a bunt in that game already.
He's always looking for a bunt. Shotgun formation, 3 receivers on the field for the Legion. Kind spikes one into the turf. And Nick, I think you see on that play the impact of a pocket that has often collapsed so quickly. On that particular play, the pass protection held up, and I think Kind just rushed the throw a bit.
Yeah, I think he saw the incoming defender, about to force pressure, and he made a quick reaction to the throw and from that decision, and it just bounced towards his intended receiver to make it second down.
2nd and 10. Once again, a 3-receiver shotgun set. Dolphins send 5. Kind forced to roll left. He's looking down the field and is stripped of the football. It's loose, and I think Charles got on top of it.
He did. So how about that? The quarterback that was replaced in the game makes the game-saving play right there for the Legion, recovering that fumble. But once again, pressure being forced by that Dolphins defense. Kind trying to throw it down the field and got hit as he threw, and the ball came out. And it looks like they lost about 6 yards on that play. It's going to be 3rd and long now coming up for the Legion here.
Well, at the very least, the Legion had hoped to avoid any negative plays to try and set up a 3rd and manageable. They haven't had many of those today. On their last drive, they were in that situation, but fumbled it and gave the Dolphins a very short field of just 2 yards. Dolphins able to capitalize, went in front by 22, and now the Legion probably have 2 plays to try and salvage this game. 3rd and long coming up. It's a handoff, and it goes nowhere.
So they lost another yard right there. This Dolphin defense has just been ferocious here today. As they're going to force another loss on this play and now make it 4th and long.
And it looks like the Legion are going to send the punting unit out there. And we've seen in this game and throughout our seasons of coverage on more than one occasion, forcing the other team to handle a punt cleanly is a worthwhile play rather than going for it on 4th and very long.
There have been 2 separate occasions for the Dolphins in this one where they've had a muffed punt, and the Legion have almost recovered it. So see if it happens here again. For the Dolphins' sake, they're hoping that's not the case.
And they will throw for it, as I had to attend to a message I received from outside, but that attempt is unsuccessful on 4th down. And the Legion will turn it over.
Yeah, the intended receiver was Segerberg on that one. And on that one, unfortunately, he tripped on the intended pass as Kine was set up in the backfield looking like he was going to punt. And he rolled out trying to make that throw. Would have been tough to get the first down if the catch was made. But regardless, now the Dolphins will have prime field position right here, trying to go up at the very least 28-0.
I think if you're the Legion at some point, you would have expected to run that fake punt, given the circumstances surrounding this game. Week 1, trailing by multiple scores, try and make something happen. That being said, I didn't think it would be there. Certainly caught me by surprise. I was looking for the football and realized that Kind had it on the move. So the Dolphins will come out in an empty shotgun set. 5 receivers on the field. Once again, it is Zachary Plaza at quarterback, and he will look to throw here. And that pass is incomplete, short left.
Kind of interesting, different styles here for the Dolphins in the second half. We saw Kafko start the first half at quarterback, and we saw Plaza in on special teams for the most part, as well as playing on defense. But now Plaza gets to start here in the second half. Meanwhile, Kafko is starting at outside receiver, and he is listed as a quarterback/receiver on the roster. So he certainly has that playmaking ability, as we've seen from his rushing read options here today.
Throughout this game, we've seen some of the Mountaineers and some of the Gravediggers filing in. That game is up next, scheduled for a 4 o'clock kickoff. We'll probably have to wait a bit longer than that. Once again, an empty shotgun set for the Dolphins. Samuel off the field in this spot. And once again, the Dolphins will look to throw. Plaza flushed out to his left. Moves upfield, makes a man miss, makes two miss, and he is inside the 20 down to the 15-yard line.
Plaza with some fancy work right there with the footwork. And it looked like was going to lose a yard, maybe get two at best, and he turns it into a first down run for the Dolphins right here, as they're going to be ruled down at around the 17-yard line.
So the Dolphins pick up the first down. I thought Plaza might give himself up after that initial move. And we talk about it quite a bit when games get lopsided. Do you try and protect your players a bit more and avoid injuries? We've already seen the starting running back for the Dolphins leave the game and come back. There actually was a Legion player in a walking boot just moments ago, as that's handed off and taken outside of right tackle by number 6, Ajamo Charles. So
Charles might be down.
Charles gets his first carry of the game, and if that is Charles on the turf, which I'm not sure it is, I don't believe so, but there is a player down, may have been an offensive lineman. The player in a walking boot, meanwhile, for the Legion was number 4, Kerzavis Bing. He was hobbling around the near side. I saw him moments ago.
He got injured. I remember seeing it on one of those goal line plays where the Dolphins obviously scored a touchdown later on, but I think it was on first down or maybe on that second down where that altercation occurred. He was down on the floor. I did see him, kind of signaling towards his leg that he was hurt. So, looks like his day is going to be done here.
Hate to do it to you, Nick, but my mother always told me outside, it's not the floor, it's the ground. I get so irritated every time I hear it, and now I'm saying it myself.
Fair enough.
Our engineer, Tyler Clark, beside himself. Spread shotgun set. Once again, Charles in the backfield, flanking Plaza. Plaza looks right and throws that way as that pass sails out of the back of the end zone.
Go for Kafko right there on that one, on the fade route.
And something we've seen covering the EFA, a lot of players that are very versatile play both offense and defense. In this case, for Kafko, multiple positions on offense. Obviously, has thrown a couple of touchdowns in this game, now getting some reps at receiver. It will be second down, goal to go. Dolphins already in front by 22, and right now there's a lot of talking going on ahead of this second down snap. Timeout has been called. So with that, we'll step aside and take a quick 60-second break. When we come back, the Dolphins look to extend their lead, already in front, 22-0.
Attention, local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
It's 2nd and goal for the Dolphins offense. They will look to throw, and that is just wide of the intended target. Kavko Jr. in the back of the end zone.
Hit off his hand, that one hit off the soccer net in the back of that end zone. So now 3rd and goal coming up for the Dolphins here.
3rd and goal. The Legion once again looking to make a stand on the goal line. They haven't made things too easy for the Dolphins in this area of the field as Plaza has time, throws middle, and it falls incomplete as that was through the hands of a receiver and off a Legion defender who is now down in the end zone.
I think that's Kind right there, Joe, that's down. Maybe not him. Number 9 was the number.
Legion once again running short on bodies. They've had injuries in this game already. It's going to be 4th and goal. The Dolphins will obviously go for it here. If you're the Legion, you're obviously looking to take something positive from not just this drive, but from this game. A stop here and a score could go a long way toward building some kind of momentum going into their next game. Dolphins are right back at it next weekend. They will take on the Empire State Demon Knights as Plaza throws to the left corner of the end zone where a flag is thrown, and I think that's going to give the Dolphins a fresh set of downs.
I think they called offensive pass interference on them, Joe.
I think you're right, Nick.
They called offensive pass interference on the Dolphins.
Wow. Well, I have to say, I didn't see that coming because the receiver didn't get any separation.
He was trying to create it.
It didn't work.
That's also
Bryant
the end
is
of the
beside
quarter.
himself, and I didn't see much there that made me think offensive pass interference except for the official signal.
He's having a lengthy discussion, but like I mentioned, Joe, the 3rd quarter also ended on that last play. Because we're now going to switch sides of the field for the 4th, but the Legion are backed up into their own territory.
Well, if you're the Legion on this upcoming drive, simply can't afford to take a safety. At the very least, make the Dolphins earn their next score. Don't allow it to come with your team in possession of the football. But as I said, a stop there, goal line stand effectively, followed by a score on this next drive, and perhaps you're feeling just a bit better about this game because to this point, especially on the offensive side of the ball, there haven't been many positives.
Yeah, I think the Legion offensively wise, they're still trying to get their foot in the door and try to get some positive plays offensively. They really only had 1 or 2 plays that have gotten them positive yards in this game. And that's just a testament to how good this Dolphins defensive line has been in this one. There's not been much breathing room for the Legion to make some plays on the outside and try to get some of the runs that they've had in this game. So, start of the 4th quarter, and they're trailing by 22. They'll need to get something going to start if they want to pull off what would be a miraculous comeback if they were going to do so.
Yeah, I think the mindset right now is one drive at a time. Just make the most out of the possessions you have left. I think getting 3 is highly unlikely, as we are approaching rather quickly the scheduled start time of our 2nd game between the Gravediggers and the Mountaineers. As I mentioned earlier, this is just game 1 of a PDF Sports Network football triple header. Of course, we have the Legion and Dolphins for you in progress, followed by the Mountaineers and the Gravediggers. And then tonight at 7, a separate crew led by our colleague David Pizzuto will be in Edison, New Jersey for the debut of Jersey Sharks football on the PDF Sports Network. Be sure to check that out at 7 p.m. Much more to come from PDF in the upcoming weeks as well. As we mentioned earlier, high school football. We have USPHL hockey. More Sharks, more EFA.
And more fun for all the crew here.
No doubt about it. We're right back at it next weekend in Brooklyn, venue permitting, as the New York Dolphins will host the Empire State Demon Knights. Demon Knights, a team we've gotten very familiar with over the past 2 seasons. We've covered plenty of games over in Granny Road and seen them several more times elsewhere, most notably in the shadow of Yankee Stadium during the playoffs a couple of years ago.
Past City Field on the way here today.
Really?
Yeah. I told you I missed an exit.
Oh, that's how?
Yeah.
I was going to say.
I'll be making the drive there tomorrow regardless too, but yeah. You just got to see one beat.
You're choosing to attend a Mets game?
Birthday gift.
Ah.
You gotta sacrifice sometimes.
Are you in the Hyundai Club?
I have access to the Caesars Club and I think the Hyundai Club too.
The Hyundai Club is all you can eat seats.
I think I do. I could be wrong. I'll show you my tickets.
Well, your ticket would have to be in the Hyundai Club section. It would say it.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's a specific section.
There's something else I have access to it, but I'm not sure what it was.
So the Legion will take over from their own 5-yard line. Kind with 2 backs in the shotgun is immediately hit in the end zone. Did he get that ball off?
It's a safety.
He did not. It is a safety as the Legion blocked 2 backs and the Dolphins' pass rush was simply too much as Kind was hit hard. I thought maybe he got that throw off. The ball fluttered out of his hand. It was covered up by one of his linemen. And officially the officials rule safety. I'm not sure I've ever uttered that line. Officially, the officials have ruled safety.
Oh, officially, it's 24-0 now for the Dolphins.
The Dolphins defense, we've speculated at times, may have been taking it a bit easy on some plays. There have been some punt attempts and some 3rd down and very long where they didn't come at the Legion like perhaps you'd expect. But they didn't hold back on that particular play as they sent the house, and Kind never stood a chance. So the Legion will have to send it back to the Dolphins here, now trailing by 24. It is still a 3-possession game, but I think the time for counting possessions has probably passed. We've seen quarters move relatively quickly in this one as the game started late. Sometimes the clock is allowed to run depending on the score and the situation. I think this is one of those situations where perhaps the clock runs to get us as close to a 4 p.m. start time in Game 2 as we can. You'd have to think that the Mountaineers and the Gravediggers would want, at a bare minimum, 30 minutes to use the field and get warm. There's a lot of clearing out to be done on both sidelines once this game reaches its conclusion. So there's that to consider as well. A safety kick upcoming here. That kick will be taken from the Legion 20-yard line. Looks like the Legion will make a change here on their kick personnel squad. Two back deep for the Dolphins. It looks like Samuel and Bryant. And that kick will travel straight out of bounds. That, of course, draws a flag as the ball went out of bounds just across midfield.
Try to remember where they spot the ball on a kick like that going out of bounds.
It's not often that we cover games with a safety kick. They might just make it a spot foul if it didn't travel a certain distance.
Looks like they're marking it at midfield. That's exactly where it is.
So the Dolphins have been stopped once in this game. That came on a drive where they inherited possession on the goal line. You have to think that the extra field has worked in their favor just a bit. Once the field has shrunken, it's been a bit tougher for them to pass the ball. The first score of this game came on a pass that was tipped up in the air by Jahari Scott. He tipped it to himself and was able to hold on. I believe that was Scott on that touchdown anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Always have to double check. We handwrite the scores, but from time to time, things slip through the cracks. Kovko back at quarterback, and a flag flies from the secondary.
12 man in the field, maybe? Yep, 12 man in the field.
That will move the Dolphins up 5 yards. As I mentioned before, the Empire State Demon Knights await the New York Dolphins next week. Obviously, the Demon Knights were in the championship game last year, and they've played a lot of very close games during our coverage here on PDF as Samuel cuts up the field there after breaking the initial tackle, and he fumbled off the spin. Samuel lost the football, and the Legion have it.
We saw him make an initial spin move early in that play and then try to do it once again. And knock the football out, and the Legion get the fumble recovery.
Well, if you're the Dolphins, who certainly appear poised to move to 1-0, you hate to see this game end on a sloppy note, but with the failure to score on the goal line and now that fumble, things not looking too good here in the second half overall in terms of the body of work. Obviously, the scoreboard sees them with this game well in hand, but heading into a matchup with a team that had a lot of success late last season, you don't want to make mistakes like that late in the game.
I think for the Dolphins, they're going to be going about that during, practice and game film this week. And, we have to avoid those possessions and them being empty possessions because most of the time they're going to be factors into games. For their sake today, that hasn't really factored much into the decision of this one, but it's definitely going to play a factor as the season goes along. They want to make sure that they don't miss out on those empty possessions.
We mentioned that looking ahead, the Dolphins have the Demon Knights next week. They will be at home for that game. Right now, that is our scheduled game here on the PDF Sports Network.
Was it maybe a free play?
I thought so, as that's aired out right sideline and caught. Kine takes a shot up the right sideline. I thought he had a free play, and he is able to connect with Omaru Cilia.
Good job by Cilia right there to make that catch over the shoulder. Had to turn back to the ball and make the play. But you mentioned that Kine took a shot. Thought maybe it would be a free play. It looked like maybe the Dolphins jumped off side on that one. But regardless, the Legion get their biggest play of the game.
Very often you see those kinds of plays blown dead, and more often you see a flag. I thought for sure that the Dolphins had been caught off sides, and just like that, the Legion are in plus territory, fresh off their biggest completion in this game. First down. Kine going deep left, and he overthrows Charles. I think something that we've talked about a lot in this game and have talked about a lot covering the Legion is the need for the quarterbacks to get the ball out quickly. When you're able to avoid those massive hits, those sacks, and those plays that go for losses, you at the very least give yourself a chance. And looking at the Dolphins' defense, a lot of one-on-one coverage out there right now. And perhaps if one of your big bodies can go up and make a play, you can make something happen offensively if you're the Legion.
Yeah, I think for the Legion's sake, this game more than likely looks out of reach, but at least you want to get some momentum going into next week. and for the rest of the season, finding out what plays will work for you as the season goes along.
It's been a much better second half for them than first half. Though when you haven't scored any points, that's not saying much. Chance to change that here. As Kind pump fakes and throws deep again, looking for Charles, and it is broken up by Scott. Talk about versatile players. Wide receiver, defensive back, as he got a hand in there and broke up that potential completion.
And how about Charles also? Give him some credit in this game, Joe. We thought he would maybe have to come out with an injury. It looked like he had really hurt his ankle and didn't look like maybe he was going to be able to stay in this game, but he almost got up on that one and was able to come down with the football with 2 defenders on him.
Gave it everything he had on that play, and the Legion certainly have not given up in this game. It looks like Kind has infused some life into this offense. Inherited a couple of drives with his back against the end zone. Charles certainly thought he should have had that one on the sideline, was not happy following that last play, but he gave it a great effort, almost had it. If it was man-to-man coverage without that safety help, I think he catches that ball.
Yeah. A very good opportunity if it was one-on-one. Scott Oss definitely, you mentioned it, definitely saved what would have been a big reception for the Legion right there.
2 in the backfield alongside Kind here. Dolphins showing pressure, and the Legion handed off. And there's a big hit at the end of that play. And the crowd beginning to make some noise following that shot dished out by number 43, who is not on our roster. We might get some help from Hosted Sports, however, as there are 2 separate rosters for the Dolphins. One that was sent directly to us, and then another that is available on Hosted Sports. So we'll check out the Hosted Sports roster. No 43. Gave it a shot.
Time I was calling the field.
2-minute warning, perhaps, or timeout?
I didn't see anything towards one of the teams, so it might be the 2-minute warning.
I would suspect that we have reached the 2-minute warning. So with that, we'll take a 60-second break, and we'll be right back with the conclusion of Dolphins and Legion.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
And we are back from Facina Field, where we believe we have reached the 2-minute warning. The Dolphins in front of the Legion by a score of 24-0. 4th down coming up for the Legion offense. Earlier in this drive, they connected on their biggest offensive play of this game. Newly inserted quarterback as of the second half, Daewon Kind connected with Omaru Salia on a deep ball up the far sideline.
We might have to have Balloon give us score updates for the South Shore game.
We will get that game on as soon as this game is over. Pre-game coverage for Game 2 will begin 15 minutes ahead of kickoff, approximately, so we'll see where that takes us. 4th down Legion. Low snap. Kind throws deep. Left sideline, and it is broken up.
That was Scott once again, Joe, on the coverage.
That time it was Armani Scott. It was Jahari Scott who broke up the pass intended for Charles. That one intended for Cilia was broken up by Armani Scott.
Meanwhile,
Excuse me.
Meanwhile, Kind once again, Joe, had to deal with a blitzing defender and took another big shot. Got the perfectly thrown ball. It was just well defended right there by Scott for the incompletion.
Well, to Kind's credit, he is having to take the snap knowing that the Dolphins are sending pressure, stand in there with, in some cases, 2 free rushers, and then take that low hit as he delivers the ball. Those are dangerous. And obviously in the NFL, they have extensive precautions to protect quarterbacks from hits below the belt. And oftentimes those are called penalties, sometimes in egregious fashion, depending on the crew. But player safety being the paramount concern, I think they're told to officiate the game that way. Call that more often than not if you're unsure. And it sometimes makes for some very tough finishes to otherwise very close games. Shotgun set. Kovko Jr. back at quarterback, flanked by Samuel. And that screen pass is complete. Spinning toward the inside and being taken down is Al-Kulaki.
Seen him make a couple big plays today. One of them, unfortunately, where he made a nice couple of shifty moves, was negated due to a holding call. But he's had his impact on this game as well for the Dolphins offense.
Al-Kulaki and Scott have been the 2 most targeted receivers on the side of the Dolphins. And when he's been at wide receiver, we saw in the red zone, Kovko was targeted a couple of times. Second down and about 2. Trips to the right here, 1 receiver wide left. And this time it is a tipped screen pass, broken up by Cilia, who comes from his wide receiver spot onto the defensive line and makes a play.
Yeah, nice play right there to force that incompletion on the screen attempt. Make it 3rd and I think you're right with 2 yards to go here for the Dolphins.
Four receivers wide in the shotgun. Kovko, hands off. Samuel has the first down and maybe one more as he's tackled at the 47. Looks like the Dolphins are going to play hurry up here with the final seconds in this game winding down. We know these EFA teams very often look to score any opportunity given. As Kovko is tackled, it looked like Samuel just tried to call timeout in the offensive backfield.
I'm not sure how wise that would be. Obviously don't want to have an injury happen when you're up this many points.
Doesn't look like they're trying to air it out. I think that's probably going to change on the game's final play. I think they'll certainly take a shot to end the game.
Might be here.
Kovko running out of time. Makes a man miss, takes off, and dives out of bounds. He's certainly living dangerously in the pocket, Nick.
Yeah. He's been living dangerous now only in the pocket, but he's made some plays at wide receiver as well. I think that's the end of the game.
I think that's the ball game, Nick.
Or not. Timeout Legion.
So the Legion will call timeout here, and you have to think we're down to the final play or two.
Well, I would say that, Joe, but we had that broadcast last season where we thought we were down to the final play or two, and we were here for another 20, 25 minutes.
You know, that fourth quarter, final 2 minutes in the Bandits versus Legion game may have been the longest 2 minutes I've ever covered. Given the fact that we had multiple touchdowns, clock stoppages for incomplete passes, and during that game, they were up against the end of the field rental. They were racing against the clock. The lights are about to be turned off. They just got out of there in time. That game also had a delay ahead of the start.
That would have been a spectacle if they turned the lights off while the game was still technically had to be played.
Maybe fireflies in the stands to try and illuminate the field?
They might have allowed them to use their phones on the field just to see where they're at.
Well, timeout was called by the Legion. The Dolphins are making their way back out onto the field. Not exactly sure what the situation is right now, as the Legion are not in position defensively.
I'm wondering if the 2-minute warning did happen or not, because now I'm starting to question things.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nick. I thought perhaps...
I didn't see who called the timeout, though. That was the thing.
Well, the Legion called timeout.
Not in this one. The earlier stoppage that we had, we thought
yeah.
that we thought was the 2-minute warning. I'm not sure who took the timeout if that wasn't the 2-minute warning, but I'm not sure that was the 2-minute warning at that spot. So someone took a timeout.
I can't see any way that we haven't reached the 2-minute warning yet. But perhaps I'm mistaken.
That's why you got to be very careful trying to play against the elements but not having the scoreboard on.
You need to be very careful commenting on the status of the clock when there is no clock.
Yep.
The Dolphins will have 2nd down and 3. Legion looking to make one final stand defensively in this game.
At least we think.
They've given up just one offensive score in the second half and made that big goal line stand. They forced a fumble. Pre-snap motion sets up.
There were still coaches on the field, Joe.
Well, that touchdown is negated.
And it was a false start on the Dolphins.
So the Dolphins sent Devon Bryant in motion and then threw a quick pass to the outside. Jahari Scott hoping for a chance at his 3rd touchdown. Would that be his 2nd? Did he score both, Nick?
I don't think he scored. He didn't score the 2nd one.
Okay. Either way.
At least I don't remember him scoring the 2nd one. I was lost in that play because of the flags that were thrown on the field.
I need to do a better job of tracking the scoring plays.
I think the other problem was there was a bunch of defenders and another receiver in that spot of the field, so it was tough to see what number came down with the football. We definitely have to replay of it, so we can probably check it at the end of the game. But to my knowledge, I think he has just one touchdown.
Trips to the right for the Dolphins. Samuel in motion, and he receives the swing pass. Good blocking in front of him. He has room up the near side, and Samuel is gone. The Dolphins add 6 more late in the final quarter. As they set up blocking on that swing pass, Samuel does the rest.
I mean, you've just seen the speed of Samuel here today, Joe. Despite him getting injured at one point during this game, his speed is just too much for this Legion defense. They have had no answer for him, whether he's been running the football or getting on that one, a receiving touchdown, and giving his team now a very commanding lead here in the 4th quarter.
Well, we've seen his playmaking ability on full display in this one. And given the fact that they are going to line up for the 2-point conversion, there still has to be some time left in this game, Nick. And I think very quickly the weather is taking a turn in a negative direction.
Yep.
The wind has picked up, the sky is darkened, and that's bad news for us.
It's not a EFA or a PDF broadcast if we're not talking about the weather, right?
Certainly not. So the Dolphins will go for 2. Looks like they're being forced to rush to the line.
And they call the timeout.
And timeout has been called. That means a 60-second break for us. We'll be right back.
Attention local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at PDF Sports.
And we're back ahead of this 2-point conversion try, and that
And
ball
got it.
is caught. Kovko Jr. was surrounded by Legion defenders, had no choice but to throw up a jump ball. And in the back of the end zone, he found a receiver.
We've got more altercations being taken place behind the end zone. That was Tyquan Stokes that got the catch on the 2-point conversion, but being lost in it, I think they might have just called the game, I think.
Guess we'll find out momentarily.
At least I thought that's what one of the refs signaled. But there was a big pile-up after that 2-point conversion try. Yeah, great catch by Stokes, who's had a big impact defensively, and he makes a nice catch right there to put his team now up 32.
We'll see if that is indeed all for this game, as the Dolphins are now ahead 32-0.
I don't think it was. I think that was maybe just a quick judgment. It looked like again, this has been tough because some of the signals we've seen from the referees have been signals that we're accustomed to seeing on regular NFL or even NCAA games. And I thought that's what the referee was signaling when that fight was going down, but doesn't seem to be the case. We're going to be playing on. The Legion will get the next ensuing kickoff. Penalty's going to looks to be on the. It looks the way that the Legion are lining up. That penalty was on the Dolphins.
Yeah, always tough to tell exactly who the instigator was, so I try not to speculate on personal foul calls from up in the booth unless we have a very good look at it via replay. You have to think, Nick, if the 2-minute warning had occurred already, this game would be over, so we must have been mistaken before. They just stopped the clock for a timeout and didn't signal which sideline had called for time. That being said, I'm a bit surprised this game is continuing following that score. A lot of the time, if the game gets to be lopsided, they'll wrap it following a score. So we'll see exactly how much longer they play on, but now we are within 13 minutes of our scheduled start time for Game 2. Once again, that game was scheduled for 4 p.m. Legion are lined up to receive the kickoff. Looks like Charles is going to be the man deep. So if he is still in this game, which he is obviously, and was the intended target on a couple of passes before.
Yeah, that's true.
Who was ejected?
I don't know who's ejected now. I didn't even think of that. I said giving him praise, and I completely forgot we had talked about him being ejected. So I actually don't even know who was ejected from this game.
To be fair, it was speculation on our part in terms of the ejection. That kickoff will skip into his arms, and he's tackled just shy of the 40. So the Legion offense will come back out. Deficit has grown to 32. And I think if there's one thing they need to look to solve on this drive, it's giving their quarterback some more time to throw and not forcing the quarterback to get rid of the ball within a second after receiving the snap. I think generally speaking, the patterns they're running on these go routes up the sideline are a one-read breakdown for the quarterback. And I think that's a product of how much pressure the Dolphins have put on the signal callers for the Legion throughout this game.
Yeah, and that's really tough for a quarterback to make that one read because the play is really not going to be able to fully develop. And now they just called the game, Joe.
Okay.
One of the Legion players punted the ball towards the end zone. So I think that was all that the referees had for in this game.
That will do it. Our final score in the first game of this Week 1 Elite Football Alliance doubleheader. New York Dolphins 32 and the New York Legion nothing. As I've mentioned many times already, this game just the first of a pair. Coming up next, the Hudson Valley Mountaineers take on the New Jersey Gravediggers. My name is Joe Foreman, my broadcast partner Nicholas Bavona, our engineer Tyler Clark, and our camera operator Pat Gialorenzo for this Game 1. All of us will be back with you for Game number 2, Pre-game coverage expected to begin approximately 10 or 15 minutes before our Game 2 kickoff. We will have our white network logo screensaver up on the screen until pregame coverage is ready to begin. So hop on the second stream and wait for us to get started there. We would expect to be on the air for the pregame between maybe 4:15 and 4:25. That's an estimate right now. We're not sure about that. We will do our best to keep you posted on the latest updates through the live chat on our YouTube stream. But until the start of Game 2, thanks for watching. Once again, our final score: the Dolphins 32 and the Legion nothing.